Thanks for joining us this week on Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee. Join your hosts Chris Marriott and Paul Schreiner each week as they talk email marketing, life, purpose, faith, but mainly email marketing. If you're looking for some normalcy in these crazy times, you've come to the right place.
Welcome back to our 8th episode. It's sort of the culminating episode in the season. We're excited to have our special guest today, Adam Curry, longtime friend of Christopher Marriott.
I had to pull out
stories
all the stops to get Adam here. Not really. He was incredibly gracious, and once I was able to get his attention on the Twitter, he readily agreed. So Adam, welcome to Email Geeks at Home Drinking Coffee.
Thank you very much, Chris. Paul, good to meet you. And I am here at home,
look at that,
drinking coffee with my the only other show I've appeared on, just so you know. So that's my Joe Rogan experience.
We're
mug.
like the same.
Yeah, we've always said the only other show we'd go on would be Joe Rogan. And it's funny you would say that.
Joe goes very broad.
No
shit.
shit.
Very narrow.
Well, and it's funny you would say it because, we watched, of course, because we do our homework, the episode you did with Joe Rogan. And, you talked about your daughter and how, how she was excited that you were on Joe Rogan. And
now I'm mattered all of a sudden. Oh, hell yeah.
Right. And and both my stepson, who's 16, and one of my other boys, Danny, who's 27, the first thing out of their mouths when I said we've got Adam Curry coming on our podcast, can you believe it? They said, what we really can't believe is he was just on Joe Rogan. Really much. I was like, oh.
I'll give you some numbers because I figure into it. So we don't count downloads on No Agenda. We don't, we have no idea. We actually you can't even technically know for sure. Podcasting is very complicated that way. So we don't care. We also our model. We don't need to have meetings and show our numbers. So there's no reason to do it. In the podcast app from Apple, they have a very specific type of metric that you can get. And it's only for iPhones above, I think, iPhone 11, and you have to be using the podcast app. So it's a very small, well, it's not a very small sample, but it's a sample.
Yep.
Our numbers, I think I did Joe Rogan on March 8th, 6th or something like that. March 4th? Okay, but March 8th.
I wrote it down.
March 8th, they doubled. 3 weeks later, 10 times.
Wow.
And that has now come down a bit. And we're about 8 times what we were before Joe Rogan. Now,
wow.
With this comes the Rona jumps in here.
Right.
But also you see, because people were home, I think they saw Joe Rogan. People who've listened before came back. I mean, we get man overboard all the time. I mean, you see your numbers go from 43 to 24 people.
Yep.
Views. So,
I knew that was coming. But listen, we're hoping that with that the long tail of Adam Curry, they coming off of Joe Rogan. If you got
you're on the coattails. I'm dragging you along.
We're going to hit 400 views for sure with this one. And
but I got to tell you, I despise video interviews. I don't think I've ever done anything from this studio. So this is. You're not really seeing anything, but this is my studio. People always say, "Oh, you're doing the podcast. You have to have a camera on." I'm like, no, I'm theater of the mind, baby. I want you to thinking about my place. So this looks mysterious enough, like, what is that place? What is that place?
I know the lighting, the purple.
Well, we can do all kinds of stuff. We can let's see. I think we can probably change it up a bit.
Oh, man!
Go, Mr. Yellow.
You bring up Corona, and I think that, part of what got us started in the first place was there's a lot of people stuck at home.
Yeah.
And what are they going to, and the idea of even connecting via face, even if it's our ugly mugs, right? Like the idea of connecting with someone on a picture. So I had not been super stoked about a lot of this going out onto the internet webs either.
Well, but you were eating the other day on the show, and I like that. So I brought my vape,
Oh, nice. Yeah. we have very few regulations on our show.
Right,
So,
right,
This is
right.
good.
which means none. Which means
Chris,
none.
I need to set this up
Okay.
because we work together
Yes,
at
we
Think
did.
New Ideas, and my wife Tina, who actually just kind of retired from communications. She was longtime communications with Ronald McDonald House here in Central Texas, and she said, "So tell me about Chris," and I could not for the life of me remember your actual title.
It was SVP, Director of Client Service.
Client Services. Yeah, that's what I thought. Clients. Yeah, okay. And we gave you the SVP title instead of a raise, I presume.
Probably. No, you know what? I got to say, Think New Ideas, you treated me, and sometimes it makes, you guys treated me very fairly, great compensation, great opportunity. I have nothing but good memories about that, other than some of the political fights I got into, not with you, but with mutual friends in the organization. But I want to talk about Think New Ideas, and I know you want to talk about Think New Ideas, but
we don't have to start there.
Yeah, we don't have to start. I want to do it linearly, because there's,
good. Okay.
I don't want to confuse our audiences that this is like Dunkirk, where I don't know whether we're in fast forwarding or going back. So we're going to do it linearly. And truth be told, I think what one of the most important things that people who don't know you well, and obviously people who watch Joe Rogan do, but you have always been, and I don't use this word lightly and it is overused, but you've always been a visionary or ahead of the time. You've figured out where things are going before anyone else. And I've got some great examples of that I wanted you to talk about. And I want to start with possibly my favorite all-time story. And that's when you were leaving. Well, that's when you were still at MTV. Mm-hmm. And that's when MTV still played music. And you saw this. I know the kids at home are going, MTV Music? What? That's what the M stands for. That's what the M stands for.
Sorry.
So the internet was just starting. This is 90s, and .coms were, becoming a thing. When you went to MTV about starting a website, what was their reaction? Tell me what happened.
Okay. All right. So I'll back it up a little bit. So I arrived at MTV in '87. A lot of people think I was one of the original VJs. I wasn't, but that was when MTV went full basic cable. That was a big deal because now you had 40 million households, and they were bringing in a whole bunch of people. So it was me, Julie Brown, Kevin Seal, Carolyn Heldman, a couple others. And so '87, now I had my dad had computers in the house when I was young. So I'd already been on, a Commodore PET, an Osborne, I'd been hacking around a little bit. And I think a TRS 100, which was it was like a kind of like a keyboard, flat with a LCD screen, 10 lines, and was battery powered, I still have it. 300 baud modem, acoustic, where you put the telephone into the cups.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those days.
I'd actually built my first modem years before. But anyway, forget about all that. I get to MTV and I actually moved to New York, and it was, I was 19. No, I was 22, I guess. And I was like, holy crap, I'm in New York. I'm living in Hell's Kitchen. It's like Manhattan, this was I came from Amsterdam, is where I grew up, and which has a different, vibe, but Times Square at the time, you could still get killed easily.
Absolutely.
With ease. So I went out and I bought at 47th Street Photo, bought a Mac Plus and a 20 megabyte external SCSI hard drive.
There you
so
go.
The drive was like that. SCSI, the big ass plug, 20 megs. 20
Yes.
megs.
I mean, this sounds like you've arrived, honestly.
Oh man, and a modem, of course. So I found out I was on every AOL at the time, and I think Prodigy, whatever. But I kept hearing about this thing called the internet, and it was really hard to get on.
Yep.
It was complicated, but once you were there, that's where all the cool people were. Yep. And so I learned how to set up a dial-up account and do a PPP or slip session. So
I remember those too.
And then you fired up Gopher, or you had news groups, Gopher, and email. That's pretty much it. And Gopher was this kind of like a web of servers linked, but it was all text-based. And you just there was a menu, and you click, you go to the next menu, and go back. And I realized, oh my God, this is cool because I'm connecting to other servers. It looks just like another menu item, but it's a server in a different university. So I'm there, and that's where my audience is. That's where MTV is, because who is on the internet at the time is kids who have access to computers at college, who, by the way, don't count for the ratings. They might now, but they certainly didn't then.
No.
And I was more lurking than anything, but a couple people had figured out who I was, and man, what they wanted to see on MTV was very different from what we were playing. So I was in fact, one time the Top 20 Countdown, which I hosted, was playing, and I had a chat room, and people would rank the video that was playing where they thought it belonged on the chart. So I was just kind of messing around. And then at a certain point, I'm like, because I'd set up a server, a Headless Sun 3, at a place called Digex in Herndon, Virginia. They were above a Chinese restaurant. So, it was like a couple $100 a month.
As they are.
Yeah. And then Robert Seastrom, RS, said, hey, man, you should put a registered domain name. So what should I do? I said, well, let's get MTV.com. I said, okay. And then in those days, you sent the guy an email. I said, hey, I'd like to register MTV.com. And while I'm at it, I want Elvis.com, butt.org, curry.com, clambumping.com. And I was going nuts. I had it all.
Well, they weren't cheap at the time either, if I remember
right.
No,
they were free. It was free.
This is pre.
This is way longer. And you sent the guy an email. I forget his name. I think he passed away recently. And he would set it up, and you'd have MTV.com. And the registration was at the time forever, endless. And I went to Van Toffler at MTV, who was head of legal affairs. He'd done my contract when I came on board. Van, who never passed the bar, I always teased him about that.
It also sounds like a very MTV name. You know what I mean?
Well, he actually was the CEO for a while. After Judy McGrath left.
Fits the profile.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So I said, hey, man, I'm doing this computer stuff. And it's when I registered MTV.com. Is that okay? And his answer was, man, absolutely. We have the AOL keyword. You do whatever you want on that internet thing. So... Serious.
AOL keyword.
Yeah, got the AOL keyword, baby. We're all cool here at MTV.
So AOL's never going away.
Right. So then I just start using that on the air, and send me email, adam@mtv.com. And I had set up a Gopher server of my own. So it was all text-based still. This is before the web. And I get an email from University of Minnesota, where the Gopher protocol and program were developed. Now, these are just programs that were on everyone could use them at the time. You just download it, install it on your server, and good to go. And they said, well, we see what you're doing at MTV, and that's commercial use of our program, so you have to pay us a $5,000 license fee. Whereas everyone in the world is using this for free, but because I'm kind of like promoting it on my on-air stuff, I'm like, I really didn't. I don't have $5,000 for this. And why are you doing this to me? I'm just fucking around, man. I'm having fun. And then we came up with a deal where if they sent me a Minnesota University Gopher T-shirt, I would wear it on MTV, and that would satisfy the license.
There you go.
And I did, and it's still on YouTube. You can see the video of me with the Gopher T-shirt. Hey, everybody. So,
Chris, I wonder if we could do the same thing with the University of Minnesota.
Hey, producer David, make a note. We're going to reach out to them and see if we can get them to help us out.
I'm sure they'll license you the Gopher protocol.
I mean, we do have a lot of subscribers.
Then to kind of finish that part of the story, not long after that, I got an email from some guy who was at Champaign-Urbana in Illinois. He said, Adam, I see what you're doing with MTV.com. Check this out. This is a HTTPD server. If you install that, then you can use this thing over here that I just developed. You can turn it graphical. And it was Mark Andreessen, and he was showing me Mosaic. And so it was one of the first. I mean, it had been around, of course, HTTPD. It was version 1.4 by the time he brought me in. But yeah, and then we had, the blink tags and the red GIF balls and the flashing shit and all that stuff. And had a website.
Man, I'll tell you, as a nerd, Mark Andreessen, my heart just jumped about 400 notches.
Why?
Well, I grew up in the same era. Well, maybe a little bit later, but not much. And, for me, college was, we didn't have internet connections dedicated. So we used TIA, the internet adapter. So we hacked it up there.
TIA,
yeah. And then established a PPP connection. Yeah. I started on Gopher and rocked into links. and early
Links.
early
I still
days,
use links today.
yeah, early days. There were a handful of sort of tech celebrities where we were just like Larry Wall, right? Who wrote
Right.
Pearl,
Mhm.
Mark Andreessen, and I'd even, in retrospect, put Ian Murdoch into that camp as well.
Wait, Ian Murdoch?
Yeah, Murdoch, Debian Linux.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
Oh, Paul's name dropping. Good job.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
a
Dump the
Ubuntu.
guess.
I'm a Ubuntu guy, so I'm Debian
Well,
all the way.
So now you've got a website, one of the early ones, and I imagine that MTV eventually woke up to
Leading the witness, Mr.
Okay,
Marriott.
I'm sorry. All
Leading
right,
the
all right.
witness.
All right. So what happened next?
What happened next?
So here was my life. And there was all kinds of crazy things happening. So I had the setup at home. In fact, I was so enamored by what was happening that I got a 56K frame relay dedicated line, which was but it was dedicated frame relay, so it was better than what you could get at the time on dial-up.
Yep.
And it was always available, so I could run little servers and do things, but still 56 kilobits per second. It's a far cry from what we're looking at today.
For you kids playing at home, that's not fast at all.
Then I got an email from a guy at Sun Microsystems, Carl Jacob. You know his brother, Chris, KJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Chris's brother, Carl, he worked at Sun. He says, dude, I see what you're doing. I'm going to send you this cool computer. And he sent me a Sun Voyager, which if you look that up was a luggable. It was a color screen, tilt screen. You could carry it with you. Unix. I mean, it was a Solaris Unix. It was an amazing box. And, I was still working on early PowerBooks at the time. And so I set that up and he said, now watch this. And he said, he streamed a song from his station, his workstation in San Francisco or in Menlo Park. He streamed it to my computer in New Jersey, and the player popped up and it started to play. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're fucking broadcasting to me right now. Yeah. What? So that was, and so we started working together, and with his brother Chris and a couple other brothers, a whole bunch of brothers there, and we're just kind of I'd go into MTV. I was always the guy, be in there on time. I didn't need makeup, hair. I was done. My clothing was on. I knew what to say, and just make sure I got my cigarette and my watered down black coffee. And boom, boom, boom. I don't need the prompter. Just tell me what's going on. I could do it. And I would fucking do the audio while people were waiting. I'd take over for the audio guy. I love my job, but it was boring. I'd go home and I was on the internet and watching porn pictures download one line at a time for over an hour. Click, 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 click. And so I decided one day while driving in, so I'm going to quit. I'm just going to start a company. And I was doing some other stuff, like I had Adam Curry's Top 30 Hit List, which was a nationally syndicated radio countdown show, which was also doing quite well. And MTV didn't really, I didn't fit in with them because, I was doing other stuff. I had my radio gigs and I was doing this internet thing, and I wouldn't cut my hair when they told me to. I was an annoying bastard to them. Annoying because he still is on time, does the work, and gets ratings. So,
right.
So that day, it was the top 20 countdown. After number one, which was Beck, Loser, I said, that's it. I'm quitting. I think the future's on the internet, and it's been fantastic, and see you around. And I left, never came back.
Wow.
But the next weekend, Saturday morning, 7 a.m. Wait, I think I have an actual clip of this occurrence. Hold on. I'll give you some sound effects. Here we go. So it's Saturday morning. I'm in Jersey.
Mr. Adam Curry. Open the door, Mr. Curry, now!
Well, not quite like that. But I was served papers, and MTV was suing me for MTV.com.
As they do.
And if they had asked me,
right,
I would have given it to them.
Right.
But because of how this had gone with the cavalier attitude of we've got the AOL keyword, I decided to countersue.
Nice.
And which I had money. That money was to live on while I was figuring out what to do on the internet, but I was pissed off about it. But I also took the David Goliath route, and I hired a publicist. And I went, oh, look what they're doing to me. And it worked like a charm. Right. So the MTV Networks and Mr. Curry have settled out of court. Neither party have any further comment. After that, I started my first company, On-Ramp, with my syndicators, Ron Hartenbaum and Gary Schoenfeld. And that was where and I had no idea. I had one employee, Brad Serling, who I'd hired right out of Cornell. Brad's still doing phenomenal work. He's, most of the alum that I've worked with have gone on to do fantastic stuff. And then from there, there's, there's a whole story that unfolds, which will be available in my book. But I'm thinking of doing the theater tour first.
Right. Any chance of musicals coming out?
It could be a musical, but I tell you, after I saw the Beastie Boys documentary, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do in Vegas. Mm-hmm. That show, I'm going to do my life, my story in music and technology.
Yeah, yeah.
And if Carrot Top can do Vegas, I think I can figure something out.
Yeah, I think that's true. It would be great to get Carrot Top in the show.
No. Now you're just thinking about too crazy, Paul.
I hear he's available.
Too far, Paul. Too far.
Carrot Top is very successful in Vegas.
He is
millions and millions. Oh yeah.
No one can explain that. But so you started On-Ramp, which then merged with a company. When you merged with Ron Bloom and with the agency in LA, was that the birth of Think New Ideas 3, or was there already Think New Ideas and On-Ramp joined it?
No, I went a little differently. So I was figuring out what to do. As I said, I had one employee, didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And of course, I built metaverse.com because MTV.com went away. And so that became some entertainment-like thing. Didn't know cyber sleaze. I didn't really know what I was doing, publishing some show business stuff. And Rick Kellman, who was the audio guy at MTV, who was pretty good. He passed away just late last year. He and we hung out a lot because I had the dressing room right near the audio booth. We both smoked weed, so he would and I had a bathroom. So he's like, if he has to go to the bathroom, so yeah, just use my dressing room. And email was kind of not the feedback mechanism at the time, so I had, at any given moment, not to sound flex, but I had 7 or 8 bags of postcards and letters. And so you just go take a dump with your morning coffee and just read through. And of course, the agreement was anything with a picture we set aside and, for discussion later. Right. And so, I would often do audio, and it was sanctioned. Like all the directors knew it. Who's doing audio? Oh, Curry. And he had worked on some for Golf Flicks. He was trying to do a Ron Bloom project. Right. So I met Ron Bloom, and he pitched me pretty hard on the Grammys. He said, I think we can go to NARAS. I know Mike Green, and no one would admit to that anymore. Right. And I think we can do the first Cybercast. And admittedly, he came up with the word Cybercast. I hadn't heard it before. Now, this is when we had See You, See Me. So this is 1 frame per second video, so we went to the National Academy of Recording Arts Societies, pitched it. So we want to do a Cybercast. It'll be the first ever. It'll be cool. It was the 96 Grammys, I think. And Green said, you got it. How much are you going to pay me for the license? We said, we have 0 money. He said, okay, but you can't approach our advertisers. Okay, fair enough. So we approached Casio, we approached Visa, and Casio had just come out with the first digital camera. Right. So we brought a T1 line into the Shrine Auditorium ourselves. I mean, obviously we had to hire the people to do it, but we brought the T1 line in. We had a team with digital cameras uploading, writing, and See You, See Me cameras updating, every second with 1 frame of video. And it was a great success for them. They were extremely happy. We made a little bit of money. And after that, and that's a much longer story because that was fantastic to do this on a live remote. No one had done it. And interaction with like David Crosby, we couldn't get him away from the camera. He just kept like going like this the whole time. Like, get the fuck out of our shot, Crosby. And so then it was real quiet. Now, Bloom and I Ron Bloom, I said, look, we'll just be partners because this is great. And we agreed to be partners from that day going forward. And it made a lot of sense for me, certainly, because I'm not a business guy necessarily. And I was young and incredibly inexperienced. And it got very quiet for a couple of weeks. Nothing's happening. Then the phone rings. Hello. This is Bob McCauley from Anheuser-Busch. Can I talk to your new business department? Do you have sales or anything? Yeah, hold on a second.
Hello?
Hi, this is sales at OnRamp. So Bob McCauley, he said, I want you guys to build Budweiser.com. I saw what you did with the Grammys and come on down to St. Louis. And we were off to the races. After that, we built the first website for Reebok, for, oh my goodness, Continental Airlines. We actually did some of their ticketing online. And then, as Chris has heard this pitch a million times, we built Tampax.com, the website you visit more than once a month. The slogan, we came up with that too. We actually, if you look at your can or your bottle of Budweiser today, you'll see there's a born on date.
Yeah.
And that was an on-ramp / Think New Ideas invention where there was always a barcode. Yep. And we were in St. Louis and how do we decode this thing? So, it's really cool. If you do this, you can see that your beer down to the quarter hour is when your beer came off the assembly line. He said, that's great. We're going to call it Born On. And we had a little widget and you put in the number of your barcode and said, your beer was born on. So we went from Augustus Bush the third grinder, I think, saying, there'll never be any fucking thing on my beer can, my bottle. No letters, no words, certainly no internet. Well, tell me if you don't see Born On date and Budweiser.com. So we were part of that.
Right.
So then we were approached. So this off to the races. And we're building, this is just bootstrap from the ground up, but, it's working. And we are around the time when we're at, 15 employees. This is where you're very critical, 12 to 15 employees. We start getting interest from Omnicom, John Wren, chairman. It's like, I want to buy you guys. I'm putting this group together called Communicate. They've got agency in there, Razorfish. Who else, Chris, help me. Everybody was in there.
Oh, I was doing some research on that. No, it was a who's who. I'm glad you mentioned Communicate was something John Wren, as you said, Omnicom put together. And other than Modem Media, it was everybody in the business.
That's Modem were all outliers too. Yep, exactly.
It was organic. Jonathan Nelson.
Weren't you at Modem Media? Didn't you come from Modem?
No, I sent Christine Schultz to Modem.
Yes, yeah. Christine Schultz. How is Christine Schultz?
She's doing great. And I said, I'd worked with her at my prior company. And I said, you need to go learn how to be a producer. We're better than Modem Media. Go commute to Modem Media for a year.
Right.
And then we'll bring you in to Think New Ideas.
Genius, because they were good.
She brought Allison Grippo with her. So she brought, and we had two people who knew what they were doing.
Yes.
And at least in that part of it. But you had Jonathan Nelson of Organic. You had
Jonathan Nelson, yeah.
You had Tim Smith of Red Sky.
Yep. In San Fran.
Jeff Dotchis of Razorfish.
Yeah.
And then us.
And what was the woman who was running it?
Felicia.
No. She was. Oh, McKinnon. It'll come back to me.
It was Felicia McKinnon, I thought. Well,
maybe.
So
we were getting these offers, and to Ron Bloom's credit, he said, "Well, there's a couple of ways we can do. The synergies were obvious with Omnicom because we could fit right into their diversified services. We could be an add-on in the pitch. We could lead DAS, Diversified Agency Service.
Yep.
Why do I still remember this?
I don't know, but I remember it too.
This is why I wanted to talk to you guys because now this is fun to remember. And my wife can learn more about me because she doesn't. Why would I remember this stuff? And Bloom said, there's other ways to go. And this is really before the .com going public hype. He said, we can take our own destiny into our hands in a way. He says, because remember, once you're public and the public owns you, that's a different pressure. And so we had just opportunities, and he really wanted to try the public route. And I thought, holy shit, why not? I mean, what do I have to lose by trying? I mean, that would be pretty interesting to see what it's like with the Wall Street and how the financing works. And so we went for it. Now, the strategy, and I was learning this on the fly, the strategy was roll up. So the idea was you have to become big enough for it to make your common revenue to make sense to go public. So we bought 15 companies, but we really did that with a merger with the Mednick Group in Los Angeles. And the Mednick Group came with the guys who were going to take us public. But that, and so structurally there are some issues that never got worked out and should have been, like, you know, the power structure, a lot of alpha males. But we went out and we went out and we acquired all these companies in, you know, Colorado and in San Francisco and
Atlanta.
Sorry?
And Atlanta.
We were literally rolling it up towards the IPO. So it was join us. We're going to give you stickers and hats, and you're going to be just like us. And here's the stock, and we're going to go and we're going to make this thing happen.
Which is compelling. It's super compelling. It
was a crazy fucking ride, and you know that's a whole nother story by itself. And so that became Think New Ideas. That was the company, and we took it public. Now at the time we raised $15 million. Holy moly! Hold on. Whoa!
I think he's gone. Either that, he's going to get the $15 million to show us.
Yeah, $15 million. Exactly. Holy shit. We were rolling in the cash, everybody.
You can tell he's a pro, Paul. He's got all this stuff.
It was in the closet. It was in the closet. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't prepped. I do, of course, at all times, although not lit, always have my Anthony Fauci prayer candle. So good to go.
I feel better already.
I like burning him. That's why. It's good. From the bottom up, no less. So after the lawyers and everyone, underwriters took their cut, we have 12 million left. And we started to build, we started to grow, and we started to bring in people. I mean, we were hiring people at crazy amount. It was a crazy time, of course. Silicon Alley was exploding. You know, Jason Calacanis still lived in Silicon Alley. Right. And, you know, it was one of the most exciting times, fulfilling in incredible ways. I, at a certain point, was running the New York office with 100 people, majority women. I had an incredible time doing that. Really loved it. I loved trying to manage culture. On the other hand, being public, quarterly numbers was a nightmare. The worst times I had was Black Monday. I don't have to tell you, Chris. When you sit your goddamn friends down and you say, "Dude, we lost this client. You got to go." You know, Kerry Goss. Although we still have contact, but it still breaks my heart. My heart.
It was horrible.
It was the worst. But you know, the friendships still have many that are like you can ping me on Twitter and I'm there. Exactly. And I know it would be the same way. But also, you and I had a always a very enjoyable working relationship.
Yeah, we did.
And your people, so Christine Schultz as well. Some of my fondest memories, because you also are a straight-laced guy. And no bullshit kind of guy. And you could always tell because your face does the same thing. You're like, but I'm just going to tell you, and I'm like, oh shit, Chris has got bad fucking news for me now. I'm just going to tell you that, right. Because you like vomit the news out, but so always honest, and you didn't hold back. And I think we had good times. I think we had some laughs along the way.
We had great times. And you know, I mean, you know, you talked about some of the early clients, but you left out some of the big successes we had. I mean, we eventually got P&G as a client, which was huge in the day. We built their website for Millstone Coffee.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yeah,
and we got invited. P&G did this was one of my toughest business decisions. P&G did a big gathering of their, early on, they were trying to control the whole interactive media market. And they had a huge, I can't remember what they called the conference, but they invited all their agencies into Cincinnati for a meeting. And that happened to coincide. We had just also landed Air France.
And that
happened to coincide with a trip to Paris.
I didn't take the Paris trip.
No, you didn't. We ended up in Cincinnati. We took the bullet.
It's like the same thing.
The think new ideas way, everybody.
Yeah.
We could go to Paris,
Cincinnati.
or we could get the
Paris,
damn deal
Cincinnati.
done in Cincinnati.
Right, or go to
Exactly.
Cincinnati. And we went to Cincinnati, and what really galled me was a freelance buddy of mine, copywriter that we'd hired to work that project and the Millstone project. He got to go to Paris, and I'm in Cincinnati. But those are some really, really awesome times. I agree.
I just realized that you were also the guy who would come to me and say, Adam, this relationship is fucked up. We need MTV guy sauce spread over it.
Yep. And you always would deliver. I mean,
that was my main job, sadly.
We need
but
MTV sauce.
Yeah,
great.
need to go over and, I got to go represent and say, hey, I'm going to take some lashes, make it look good, smooth things over. Yeah.
But I mean, and you were great at that. I mean, because everybody loves Adam Curry, and it was,
Everybody loves Adam.
It was Adam Curry serious. We're all right. We're in the Adam Curry zone. We got to go get it.
It felt pretty dirty usually, but
No, it was
it's what it
that
was.
We had a lot of fun. Malcolm Folds. I mean, there was a lot of great people at that office. And I stay in touch with I mean, Kerry and I have even stayed in touch. I think he's in the Chicago area.
He's
now.
in Chicago. Yeah, he's in
yeah,
Chicago.
as I am. And he reached out to me, I don't know, a year or so ago.
You're in Chicago? I didn't know you were in Chicago.
Yeah, I relocated here. I'm broadcasting from outside Chicago at the moment.
Yeah. Where? In the
Lake Forest.
Oh, swanky.
North
Very
Shore.
nice. Yes, swanky. Very nice.
Yeah, it doesn't feel swanky when the weather's still in the 30s.
Hey, and how's that water? Is it just flooding everything?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, my in-laws' lawn looks like the chain of lakes in a like a reduced version of the Illinois chain of lakes. It's
well, downtown is just horrific what I saw.
Yeah, we've had it's been raining. It's like Noah. It just doesn't stop raining. So
no, my wife's from Chicago, so,
so
it'll be easy for us to see each other in person again soon.
That would be great. That would be great. And of course, I stay in touch with Tony, who suggested. Now we'll stop this in a second, Paul. But Tony suggested.
Tony, oh my God.
Yeah, and he said, Tony Frost. There you get a
Tony
shout out.
Frost?
He said, you know what? He said, try Twitter. That is probably the best way to get Adam's attention.
Right.
And he was right. And I told him that. And I stay in touch with
Dude,
Vernon Stewart.
you could have just emailed me.
I don't have it. Nobody has an email of you that works.
Adam@curry.com. It's all over the internet.
Oh my goodness. How did we miss that?
No. I think it bounced back. I'm pretty sure I tried that because I'm pretty sure Tony told me that. I will try that again.
Although if you sent some big file like some porn movie, yeah, it bounces back because I cut it off at 10 megs. I'm tired of that shit.
I didn't send a porn movie.
Okay.
Chris sends a lot of those.
Yeah, that's why.
All right, moving this program along.
I was gonna say I love Old Home. I do, because it's been like I felt like I got brought in a little bit, which is fun because I spent time at Razorfish. I mean, there's all of the connection.
Oh, you were part of the same elements, the same
kind
vibe.
of. I came in on a programming front, and so Razorfish was doing. It was a buddy of mine had Net Conversions was purchased by Razorfish, and it was the whole idea is we think with our mouse. So wherever our mouse is going, that's what we're looking at. And at the time, it was pretty innovative, 99, 2000, something like that. And so I wrote Flash. And so
oh my God.
Yeah.
Monk's work. Yeah. All
yeah.
right.
So anyway, I did enjoy
script.
it. But there was one thing that you said when we first started that I thought was really interesting. And I'd love to sort of tease it out a little bit. It was around sort of not keeping track of metrics on your podcast.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. Because, I mean, we're marketers and our core audience is marketers and metrics drive decision, right? Yeah. What went into that for you?
Okay. So I'm not anti-commerce, not anti-ads or anything. In fact, email specifically we should talk about because that is a great benefit to what we're doing.
Cool.
Yes. When John C. Dvorak and I started No Agenda, it started very much like you guys, just chatting. It's like, fine, we should record this and whatever.
Right.
And it was always audio. We're both radio guys, understand it very well. But what was happening, I was in London, traveling back and forth to San Francisco. He was in San Francisco. When I was in San Francisco, we go out and have, dinner and catch up. But then I was back in, and this is 2005. So not long after podcasting, after I started off podcasting and then started my podcast network in San Francisco, which is where I learned that you can't monetize the network. And I'll get to what that means. For me, the online advertising business is, can only go one way, and that's down to zero. And the
like
main
a race to the bottom, is that what you mean?
Well, there's no way to control the scarcity of inventory. How much page do you want? We'll make some more page. There's no scarcity. Right. It's just not there. Right. So if you because that scarcity can't be created, you're really looking at the way I think advertisers in click marketing, a lot of it is probably just brand stuff. That's probably the most successful, and little kind of classified type deals. But when it comes to a media property like a podcast, you have some very specific issues. And the first one is, what is someone listening? Well, you can't track it. You can track downloads, kind of, although that's not a great way to do it because there's network address translation. There's all different ways that you just can't count all the downloads. And then, so someone downloaded. So what? Did they listen to it? I don't know. There's no closed loop in that. And then it was designed like that on purpose. When Dave Weiner and I were doing this, the decision was very clear, from almost not even a conversation. Like, this is not going to be patented, trademarked, or copyrighted. Everybody has to be able to use this. Otherwise, it'll never take off. Right. And that was essentially the RSS enclosure element in that whole format, which is why when Steve Jobs called me and, sat for an hour and the punchline was, I want to put podcasting in iTunes, it was easy for me to be incredibly delighted because he wasn't stealing anything from me. It was only going to help everybody. And of course, it ultimately did. Right. So selling ads, and this is what I thought we'd do when we started the network, we'd change advertising a little bit incrementally, and it would be host mentions with coupon codes. And that model did work. But of course, what happened pretty quickly is that the SEO wizards were much better at creating revenue with these codes than the shows ever could be. The shows were incredibly helpful and very dedicated, but it just wouldn't work. Also, then you have a network. Right. And the network, you have 2 stars, maybe 3, and they get all the ads. Yep. There's all kinds of issues, and it all comes back to the number one issue, which is cancel culture. So there cannot, everything in today's advertising media, pretty much, I'm talking real money. I'm not talking about Squarespace, love them, all that. Real money is telco, pharmaceutical, we're talking, airlines, autos, real money. They do not want to take any risk whatsoever for any reason with any content that they could be associated with. Right. That's the main reason YouTube cancels stuff, is because they just don't want to deal with, the advertisers don't want to deal with, anything that could be controversial because they're afraid. Right. Which, by the way, is the same reason why we're still kind of locked down in most of the world, because leaders are afraid of being canceled. So that's just where we are today. So ads become very inefficient as a monetization vehicle. In addition, and this is what Dvorak and I had the problem with, why we never started with ads, we want to just say whatever we want. We don't really swear or cuss that much, but the topics are controversial regardless. Not all, we analyze media, so sometimes it can come across as incredibly misogynistic, where we're just analyzing a host of a show. Things that would get us kicked off, fired immediately. Sure. Yeah. Sure. And it wasn't really important because we were just having a chat. And this is now 12 years ago. Sure. So, and it's just kind of, started as recording a Skype conversation. It built up, and then as we're getting clips and editing and playing stuff and pulling stuff apart, and I'm reading the Lisbon Treaty and all its protocols, and we're talking about that. This is around the time the Lisbon Treaty was voted down twice by the France and the Netherlands, but shut up, slave, you voted wrong. Okay. So we said, this is actual work. This is taking a lot of work. So we need to get compensated. And we said that on our show. It's like, well, you got to send us money because, we're not going to do this for free. It's too much work. And people started sending money. And that evolved into very quickly something we call the value for value concept. And it is very simple. It goes like this. You just listened to us for 2 hours. Was that of any value to you? You could have gone to the movies. You could have taken a date, had a drink, had some popcorn, $50. Was it worth $50? Our 2 hours versus those 2 hours? Up to you. You can listen to this for free, never support us, don't give a shit, enjoy. And what we discovered is value is very different from one person to the next.
Right, sure.
Lots of people say, man, this is a $5 a month show, and I like it, and I'm going to sign up with a subscription. And other people say, man, I can't believe what I just heard. Here's $1,000.
Really? Wow. That's fantastic.
So this was a great revelation. And this, we also start almost immediately with a newsletter before every show. So the afternoon before our show, we send out a newsletter with topics, and the newsletter pitches our value for value, support the show. Then we saw that people were not just actively participating with money in there. And by the way, numerology came into play. Here's $69, wink, wink. Here's $333.30, magic number, wink, wink. It's Pi Day. Here's $314, or here's $31.40. Because we would, on the show, we thank people and we read their note, which is, for brevity, and the amount. I mean, you can actually just count up the numbers. We tell you exactly what people sent for each episode. So it's this completely transparent, open process, and people are showing their value and they're feeding back with, because they come from all walks of life, information that we're talking about. Now I'm getting clips and all kinds of stuff sent to me. We said, these aren't listeners, these are producers.
Yeah. So
now you're listening to us, you're probably a producer, and you're probably producing one way or the other. So our infrastructure, we have new art every episode, within 15 minutes of us being done recorded. We have backup sites, players, search engines. We have all this stuff run by other people who, and for years and years, who just, that's their value they're contributing to the show. And that has just built up over time. And for the past 8 years, 2 families have been living fine off of this, and the satisfaction is off the chart, because I show up to work. We only do it twice, a Thursday and Sunday. It's about 3 hours each show. A spreadsheet comes in, and here's what people either thought of the last show or the value they think it's going to be this show, and it's immediate. And if it sucks, then you're going to see your numbers go. Yep. But we measure really by, can I pay the rent? That's our measurement. It's always been our measurement. Can we pay the rent? We can pay the rent. We've done a good job.
And that's a very organic perspective.
Well, let me finish this, because we are in tribal media right now. This is the new landscape that I see. So here's your 10-year picture, Chris, that you were talking about. Adam's always 10 years too early. I do fine. Other people make billions, and I'm okay with that. This is my role in life.
Okay.
Excuse me. I have a mute button switch. You like that?
No, we'd rather.
I have a mute switch on my foot, so I can do this. I don't have enough hands when I'm doing the show, so I need my foot to mute the mic when I'm blowing my nose. Sorry. I do not have corona. So go ahead, Chris. Looks like you want to ask a question.
No, I was going to say
tribal media.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has a tribe.
Yeah, he totally
No
does.
Agenda has a tribe.
Yep.
Ben Shapiro has a tribe. Jimmy Dore has a tribe. They're all Alex Jones has a tribe. These tribes, regardless of the model, which is sometimes love, it's not even money, they are self-sustaining and supporting, and the outer edges bring people, they attract, and they're like super attracting groups. And sometimes they fuse. They never really completely fuse, but like Joe Rogan and the No Agenda show, huge tribal overlap. So people were already priming me to go on his show and him to get me on the show. And everyone was happy.
Right.
And it literally starts to help everybody grow bigger. But no one will rule the roost. We're not going to have the big, this is the Mac Daddy of all time. I mean, Joe Rogan, huge, but there are other people who have audiences just as large, only maybe not in popular culture. Right. And more importantly, of great value to themselves. And so people in these media tribes, they get value out of this one way or the other. Here's an example. We have some guys who do a t-shirt. They have a t-shirt business. I don't even know their names. They set up noagendashop.com. And we've always said, do whatever you want. Just if you're going to use our heads, then we got to talk about it. And so the artists, if you go to noagendaartgenerator.com, every show, there's 20 pieces of art whacked out. We choose one. So these guys at the shop, they said, hey, we're going to take pictures from that, put them on T-shirts, mugs, hats, hoodies, and then we're going to give 33 1/3 to the artist, 33 1/3 to the show, and they're going to keep a third.
Cool.
And we have no contract, no meetings.
Wow.
Everyone's delighted. They're like, oh, look, there's a cool new mug. You know, I order the mugs myself. Sometimes they send me, but it doesn't matter, you know. No contract. It's complete, almost like an open source type thing.
Right.
And that type of support is something new in media. And the feedback loop has finally caught up with us. When we're doing the show, there's a chat room. We call it the troll room because that's what it is. And there's always, 1,500 to 2,000 people in there in real time feeding back while we're doing the show. So they're producing them as well. We have noagendasocial.com, our own social network. It's astounding what has happened.
Right.
And I wish that there was an easier way to describe it and to help people see the light. But depending on where you want to go next, the email newsletter has become a crucial part of this business.
We can go there. I mean, that's something we're near and dear to our heart.
Why don't you talk about that? Email is in our name of our show. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Dvorak has been a hot list guy for most of his life. He knows email marketing. He's tried so many. He's a writer. You know Dvorak, John C. Dvorak?
I know the name. I don't know the person.
Well, he's very famous Silicon Valley columnist and writer from the early days all the way through the 90s and certainly into the 2000s with podcasting. He worked at our company. Cranky Geeks. He's all kinds of great. But he was really the back page of PC Magazine. People would buy that just to read his column first, so they would flip the magazine over to read Dvorak's column. Right. And but he wrote for pretty much all the publications. He's very well ingrained and total introvert loner like myself, but incredibly smart. And we have a really interesting relationship. That's just we don't talk to each other ever except during the show. There's just nothing to talk about, nothing to discuss. It's all on the show or it's not on the show. So he understands the mechanism and the psychology of newsletters, and he studied. What are we? Are we similar to a church? Are we like, do we have cultish elements? There's all these different things, and it really comes down to a few things. But we're always pitching. It's always about keeping the show going. Here's the value to you. You listen to us because X, Y, and Z. If you don't support us, it'll go away. And
so pitching the value proposition
constantly.
Yeah.
At the same time, we mix it up. We always laugh. Like we put actual content in the newsletter today, which is an essay or something really interesting. That never results in donations ever.
Okay.
But if you just do flash pitch, here's what's going on. Here's the topics we'll be hitting. Remember to support us. Works. Big for us is these numerology days.
Okay,
it's unbelievable how people love doing that.
Yeah.
And, so I'm always amazed when I see political parties, and it's got to be one company or all you guys are assholes. Chip in. We say chip in as a joke. It's so damn lame. That is not in. Chip in $3. Are you kidding me? What do you think the show was worth? You want to keep it alive? What is it worth to you? Let us know. Shit, here's $50. We barely even have a suggestion button for amount. It's just go ahead and do it whatever you want. Now, we took this a step further because now people are starting to support us regularly. Hey, man, I gave you $1,000. That's fantastic. You know what you're going to be now? A knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. And we're giving you a signet ring. We're giving you sealing wax. We're giving you a certificate and a title. And you can make up your own title and a protectorate. And we have we have a peerage map. We maintain who's in charge of what, and then people started, doubling down. It's like, hey, I had $2,000. Well, crap, you're obviously a baronet, and we do a little ceremony on the show and a title change. It's all part of our donation segment, which I think is just entertaining content to listen to. It's not it's not like a PBS drive,
right?
And And this just kept on going. And we have an actual, I can actually give an idea. It's all, of course, theater of the mind. And we do have, all of the elements. So when we get ready to knight somebody, we bring out the blades, so two blades. And then we have our big bombastic theme, because we're about to knight some people here on the No Agenda Show. And kneel before me as I knight thee. And then we do the sword clunking and all of that. So, and it's fun. And it's fun.
It sounds fun. So here's where I'm trying to get.
It's gamified is what I'm saying.
Well, of course, yes. And I'm ready. Knight me. No, where my head's at is, and so much of what we're doing is we're thinking sort of about our email marketers, and how do we take what you're saying and make that super relevant to them. So one of the things that you said that I thought was spot on was, just continue to pound that value proposition. You also said we don't want every email to be an ask, because when every email is an ask,
boring, it's
garbage, right?
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention. And so the idea of having, differing content as you go out, perfect, fantastic.
A big one for us is subject line, obviously.
Yeah.
When we're in trouble, when donations have, because the newsletter spurs about 30% of the donations for each show. So it's sent out the day before. It comes in. People have to get their donations in before midnight in order to qualify for a mention on the show, because we have a back office and processing, and it's all mainframe. Right. If things are really bad, I'm giving away a big secret here.
All right.
You want maximum opens when the chips are down? Your subject line is "Hey."
Sounds about right.
It's unbelievable. That is like the nuclear bomb. Like we need people to see this. We need people to open this. Subject line: "Hey."
Hey.
Topper. Now you can only use it once a year.
Well, it drives curiosity, right? Like, what the crap? Let me open that.
Yep.
So I'd like to. I also know that a lot of our email marketers, they are media people, right? Mm-hmm. And so your model works. That tribal model works very, very well for you, for these big syndicated type shows. For someone starting out, now I think the nice thing for Chris and I is we don't care. Right. Like, I mean, we want to bring value to to the people that we talk to, but this is never about us making money. Like, this is a community thing for us. But there are a lot of people that do want to make money from their.
Adam's probably thinking to himself, "You assholes."
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. No.
Not at all.
So for someone starting out who's launching a podcast, is the idea build your tribe and the revenue will follow? Or is there more to it that you think, man, if I was starting out, what would I want to know?
I think you nailed it. Build your tribe. You're going to get nowhere with nobody. So you have to have a tribe. And it's really dependent upon, so what is the tribe you're trying to attract? So, we used to say the knitting community is a great example until the knitting community became so politically polarized that, that they're sticking each other's eyes out with knitting needles.
I knit and I vote.
Well, exactly. So that kind of tribe, has very specific value that they're looking for. So for me, it turns out my satisfaction comes from things much, much deeper than compensation. But I was doing it because I kept doing it because people were paying. I could. My thing in life has always been find out what you really like doing, and then find somebody to pay you to do it. And monetary, and it depends on. For instance, I started a new show. We've just did episode 37. It's called Mo Facts with Adam Curry, and MOEFACTZ. And it's this guy who reached out to me actually on my honeymoon. He said, "Hey man, you were talking about ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, and I just want to explain that to you." And he's a African American guy from Virginia,
Okay.
So we get to talking, and I'm like, Mo, and he's been doing some YouTube stuff, and he's researching, but he has a real job, and a like quality assurance at a chip fab. So he's got a real gig, and he's a manager. So he has only so much time. But as we were talking on the phone, I'm like, okay, man, this is it. I'm done. We're doing a show together. So we just started the show. It's like 6 months ago, and we literally just built our tribe. By just doing the show, putting it on Twitter. Now, of course, I have a little bit of Twitter dust, and I have an audience that's going to listen to stuff. And then about 25 episodes in, we said, okay, value for value. Here's what we're expecting. And now you've witnessed it. There's 35 clips pre-produced, a storyline, 2 hours of conversation between a Black American man and a white American man that you can't get anywhere else in the universe. And I'm saying that because that's what people are saying when they hear it.
Yeah.
Support this so we can continue. And my dream would be for Mo to quit his job one day. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Well, what I think when I talk to folks who are sort of doing it, I think
let me just answer to follow up. So for him, his mission is very different from mine.
Right.
He has a message that is unable to get out and represents a very large group of American citizens. I have a hunger for knowledge and understanding. I'm old enough. I'm like, wow, let's learn about this. Those two come together and developed a third part, which is neither of us.
Right.
And so that's now our tribe. And it's so we started for different reasons, come together, and then this tribe has this thing, and it expands. And then all of a sudden, there's other people getting into it, and then Mo is being asked to be on other shows and talk about stuff, and that's how it works. And no mainstream necessary. I mean, we don't do a newsletter yet, but we're going to have to. That's the model. You got to remind people what's happening.
Well, I'll tell you what sort of shines through what you're saying, both in terms of Mo and yourself, is it's not just that you have a perspective, a point of view, is there's an authenticity to it, right?
Always.
That tribe requires you to be who you are, right? And so
bingo.
And when we're authentically ourselves, people are drawn to us. And so I think in terms of building that tribe, instead of putting on airs about what you think you should be, maybe reflect on who you actually are and share that piece.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
Go ahead and caption that. Put it anywhere. You can use it anywhere. Open content, Adam. That's
very
what I'm
nice.
Right
yes. No. There's a great interview. It's Dave Rubin, the Rubin Report,
right,
with Mike Rowe, and Tina just showed it to me yesterday. It's about an hour, and I mean, I like Mike. I want to drink with this man. I have to hook up with him. He sees, and that's really what his Dirty Job series, he saw this a long time ago. And he says, production, I like low budget production. The less fake, the better. He says, I want it to be real. People have to see that I'm fucking it up, that I'm making mistakes, that I'm not reading a script. Right. And he says, it's those people with the feedback loop from early on the message boards who would feed back, and that feeds into your, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. Here's the direction I'm going to go. Here's what I'm taking the show next. Here's what I'm thinking of. That interaction is absent from mainstream.
Right. Well, that's marketing, right? What you were just describing is sort of
programming.
Honest.
That's programming. Yeah.
Honest, sort of raw marketing.
But why is it? No, but that's not marketing. It's
marketing's understanding what your people want and sort of conjuring that.
Wow.
Up.
Okay. I like that a lot. I don't call that marketing, and that's very interesting because it's probably the same thing. It may be semantics, but I see that as programming. I'm taking input and I'm creating programming. I'm not listening to feedback. It's a subtle difference.
Okay, tell me about that.
So if you look at it as marketing, you send a message out and you get a result and you know where to go or what the product has to be.
Sure.
Is that fair? This is a part of the process. The product literally becomes what the people want because they're sending me content that goes into the actual end result. Whether it's words, whether it's background, whether it's just a link. It could be a YouTube that I pull clips from.
Sure.
This is a significant difference than, oh, I like what you were talking about. It's not a poll. It's It's deep penetrative marketing.
It's DPM. It also sounds like what you're getting is user-generated content.
Well, yeah.
I have thousands of producers who work on our show.
Exactly.
It's not user-generated content. I have thousands of producers who work on the show.
Well,
we only have one, David Inman.
Yeah, we have one, and he's very
he's learning on the job.
So here's an example. So we noticed that a lot of producers who were donating on behalf of their smoking hot wife. Right. Because we're all locked down. Mother's Day was a big win for everybody because everyone all of a sudden said, shit, mom does a lot. So people really love moms. So now if we were doing a regular radio show, and I said, hey, let's do a funny bit about not everyone saying, oh, here's a donation for my smoking hot wife. We have to have a meeting. We'd have to have production do it. Someone would have to write it. It would have to go by legal. All of this stuff. Instead, the next show.
In the morning, No Agenda producers. When writing the No Agenda show, we know you all want to refer to your significant others as smoking hot. When everyone uses the same term to describe their lover, it can get quite repetitive. So when writing the No Agenda show, please consider using an alternative term, such as alluring, angelic, arm candy, attractive, arousing, banging, beautiful, bit of crumpet, bombshell, bomb diggity.
So you get the idea. It goes on. That appeared. I didn't have to write it, didn't have to concept it.
Right.
The organism did, the tribe did it.
Well, so it sounds like your pushback's not against that concept of marketing, but your pushback is against that sort of over-invasive, in-your-face, like programmatic, just so systematic form of marketing. Is that fair?
It's actually our producers who market. So we communicate with the producers. They market, and we have a term for it. It's called hitting people in the mouth.
Yeah.
So if you turn someone on to the show, it's like, oh man, I just hit that guy in the mouth, and it got so
right.
We didn't come up with this. Someone else came up with it, and it came from this. So go out there, promote the show, everybody.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
It sounds like our producer, David, has a lot to learn.
Well, remember, we're an audio show, and we're total radio nut jobs. There's a lot more going on here with video. It's a very different type of show, but I'm just showing you what happens in what I think is this tribal media. It's a whole new state of what media is. And I believe I will, for the rest of my life, live comfortably with exactly what I deserve. Not more, not less.
Right.
Sure.
That's great.
Don't end the interview here. I'm good for another hour.
No, we've got more. We've got so much more. Honestly, I think, pack a lunch. We've got it handled.
Good.
I'll tell you and sort of one final thing on the podcast sort of concept around marketing. One of the things that I was on a run, and I was thinking through, we had listened to your show on Joe Rogan, and the thing that got to me is I was like, there's a lot of power in knowing what someone is listening to, because what they're listening to helps make who they are, right? And so when you create that profile of all of these pieces together, that is an incredibly powerful metric. But it sounds like that's not something you're looking at, or something that even you guys are looking at all.
No.
Why?
Because we don't have to.
Not have to, but I think there's something deeper there that I'd love to tease out.
Yes, we're lazy.
Okay, there it is. There it is.
We're lazy.
So it's
totally
about
lazy. I do not want to do the job that I'm not good at. I mean, I understand it. I've been a part of it. It's been part of my career. I'm not interested in it. I want to make this show. We grow at about 15% year over year.
Okay.
In what the audience is, it has to be sizable, because I mean, if you really want to talk numbers, we probably have, I don't know, people who donate is not going to be above 1.5. You know,
right.
That's really the level. So you have to have, you got to have enough people, or not so many people. I mean, you can live on a podcast with 10,000 listeners as long as they all chip in a little bit. And I said chip in. So for us, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, because you're marketing a product, but I think that our product, well, it starts all with an outstanding product. You have an outstanding product, it's going to be a lot easier for your people who consume the product to sell it. And I think that's just the bottom line. But
Focus on quality product.
Just make an outstanding product. And what's kind of interesting, maybe as a sideline, is that from time to time, we had a guy in Cal, and he had quit his tech job, literally, I think, bought the farm and started farming CBD. And he sent us these CBD salves and stuff. And I use it for a cramp. And then, you know, one of my buddies, his dad was a, you know, lifelong firefighter. He had rheumatoid arthritis, and he felt the difference in, like, you know, 3 hours. And so we talk about it on the show. This is some magical shit this Cal has got. And he was retired, you know, just started this thing called Lavender Blossoms. And then all of a sudden he sends us on like $300. He said, well, you talked about it on the show, and all these people from No Agenda want it. And now this is like a flourishing business with employees.
That's fantastic.
You know, it's just taken off. And some, you know, once in a while, Cal checks in with a donation. How you doing, guys? Here's whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not related to anything. It's just whatever he feels is appropriate.
I think there's it sounds like it's just sort of this belief that underlying people are good, right? And if we start there, that people are good, then they're going to want to pay for things that they care about.
It is the exact, now that you say that, it is the exact opposite of Twitter.
Yeah.
The same people.
Yes.
Who will go on Twitter and yell at libtards and MAGA hats and whatever, because, you know, we have a very diverse audience. The same group are full of love and compassion for each other in the group.
Interesting.
Right.
But individually, they go outside the group. They're on Twitter, like,
right.
You know, like nut jobs. And I think everyone has a version of that.
Sure.
I want to zag a little here, because Paul's been keeping this as a very serious conversation.
No, it's like, where's the fun? It's like,
all such a stuff.
Guy out of here. Get him the hook.
So I'd like to talk about something that you talked about on your last podcast, where you said that it takes a big head to succeed in television.
Oh, literally a big head.
Yeah, you need a big head to succeed in television.
Yes.
Large cranium.
This is not my. Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I've go ahead, and then I have some commentary.
This is the legendary television producer Merv Griffin, who discovered this early on. He is the producer of such hits as Wheel of Fortune.
Yep.
And he said very clearly, and usually these people come with tiny bodies. Big head is guaranteed success. If you have the right format, the right formula, you need a host or a television person needs a big head. And look at the big heads who are successful. Vanna White, by the way, tiny body, big head. Pat Sajak, big head. Jay Leno, big head. There's just big heads everywhere. I don't have a particularly big head, but I had hair. And I think that the hair, I think the hair, which, you know, added at least a couple inches to the overall size of the noggin girth. I think that helped me, and in a way I was held hostage by that. A subtitle of any book would be Adam Curry Held Hostage by My Hair. But I think it was a big part of the success.
So more than once, my head has been described by others.
You got a pretty big head.
I was going to say, quite large.
People say I have a Rosie O'Donnell-sized head, and I think that's fair.
No,
not Rosie O'Donnell-sized.
No, Rosie is more blockish.
Yeah,
Lou Abbott-sized head, maybe.
Just it's a Chris head. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a Chris head.
But shouldn't that ensure then? Should I be successful? I mean, is that?
Remember, I said good format and big head.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
You need the format. You can't beat Wheel of Fortune, man. It's like, come up with that and I'll put your big head on TV. You'll be very successful. Guaranteed.
All right.
Big head for my next production.
I'll tell you what, I think Chris could host Wheel of Fortune. That's my 2 cents.
Sure he could. Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't mind.
No, you'd be good at it.
I would.
Do you want to buy a vowel? I can.
Chris is available.
I am available. You know what? I'm available. Absolutely. And
how many viewers do you guys have by now? Actually, are you over the 100?
After
You
this
be
show,
we're past the century mark. That's for sure.
I'm paying it forward. I got my boost from Joe. I'm going to put you guys over the top, 10 times over the top. Everybody, we got to get 360 views on this sucker.
You heard it there from Adam Curry. We got 360, and boy, do we ever.
Half the people will be delighted just to see the part of my studio.
Yeah, they'll be like, come on.
I mean, if we get everybody who used to work with you, and everyone down to my cousin Charlie, who you probably remember from MTV days.
Charlie Singer?
Yeah, we got to give him a shout out.
Please say hi to Charlie Singer for me.
All these @signs taking place in this.
I will.
Charlie Singer. What is Charlie doing? Is he still in television biz?
Yeah, he's still in television biz now. He eventually went to, and this is very exciting to our listeners. He went to the Latin MTV. He ran that for a while.
Yes, I remember that. I remember he ran that. Yeah.
And so now he's got his independent production company. He does the Latin Grammys, and he does
a lot of these guys have moved on. Like Alex Coletti did the whole Unplugged series. I mean, a lot of them moved on. Like the kid who was Joe DeMaio, who was an assistant producer. He invented the Osborne reality show.
Oh wow.
And all he had was one camera. He said, just give me a camera. I'm going to do this thing, and we'll put it together with Ozzy. And he created the whole series. And I think a fucking format and an industry.
Right.
Joey DeMaio. You kidding me?
Another @sign. @sign's going everywhere right now.
Beth McCarthy, a
Another
long-term director of Saturday Night Live.
And the one other thing I wanted to touch base, I want to go back.
Only one other? Jeez, man. I have you booked until 11:15 at least, so keep it going. All right.
Well, this would be our longest podcast. We're already at a record podcast. As long as we can keep it interesting, we'll keep it going. I want to go back to your partner, Ron Bloom, because he had a very interesting career prior to working with you. Did he not?
He was now he is a musician. He's a blues guitarist and an extremely talented one, which I think is really his true passion. And he's like me, he's let's call him entrepreneur. We bounce around, try to figure shit out. I think before now he's written songs, he's performed, he's produced songs. We had some crossover there. I think he actually may have. We always used to joke about. I think didn't he play on Air Supply, All Out of Love, and I think Benny Mardones, Into the Night. Not shitty songs. He was married to. Oh no, he was dating Princess Stephanie of Monaco back in the day.
And he produced her album.
Yes, well, that's how I knew him from the past, because she had come to my studio in Amsterdam when I was working there doing the Countdown television show with that record. Now he wasn't there, but so we had all these common things. He also had built Chuck Norris's studio, and he's a Jewish boy from Atlanta, kind of a very interesting fellow. We still are in touch to this day. We've done multiple businesses together, not always with the same result, but great respect and love for him. Last time I was in LA, I didn't have time to chat, but we catch up.
Yeah, no, that.
But he is a relentless. I think he's a leader. He is a leader that leads in a particular way, and that is we're going to push until we fucking fall down, and we'll get it.
Yep.
And by the way, we're going to do it with 3 different teams to make sure we get the one of them right.
Right.
And that is not a popular type of leadership often. And I think you can also run things and people into the ground. So I think I had like a Wharton School of Business education on the job between the characters we had, Chris, and experience, because you came with managerial experience. I was a VJ. What the hell did I know? I'm good with people.
And here's Aerosmith.
Whitesnake. Yeah, he's a business guy. I was always amazed. The thing he did quite well, certainly the second time around, is kept equity for us. He didn't let us get robbed, not too much. He kept his word. He's a man of his word. We had agreements. So that's. But we don't hang out. But I don't. I'm married. I'm glad everyone's kids are out of the house. Go away. We're newlyweds. We're vibing. And tomorrow is our.
So would you say that yours is, if somebody described your neighborhood and, would they refer to your house as that the bumpin' house, or, is that somebody else in the neighborhood that's bumping?
Bumping?
Yeah, I don't know that term, Chris. I don't think that's what the kids are saying.
Like we got the rockin' house, you mean? Like we're the cool kids on the block?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we live in a cul-de-sac in Opportunity Zone 33 of Austin, so we are part of the gentrification movement.
There you go.
And so we have a new house in the older cul-de-sac. We have two veterans next door. One a Vietnam veteran. One is a Iraq War veteran. They're roommates. They're not together, but they're roommates. We have a number of same-sex couples, older couples, like in their late 60s here on the block. And we fit right in. Next door is a cop. She's a cop. He's a heavy metal drummer who plays at the Broken Spoke, does country songs to make ends meet, which is a very Austin couple, actually.
It sounds like an Austin couple.
She comes home sometimes. I'm up in the morning and I see her walking down her driveway, and she's a cop, man. She's like, I'm a cop, and and she gets up and she turns, because she's the night shift, and the gun belt falls on the ground. There's bullets, there's nightsticks and all this gear, protective vest. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic. Austin is. I'm in love with Austin, and we have our issues, of course, like everybody. But I've always felt very home in Texas. Been here 10 years now. So
got it.
It's great. Yep.
So your anniversary is the 19th.
Yes.
That's my birthday. So we share that.
We do.
Yeah.
How nice.
I'll be 22 tomorrow.
Yeah, fuck you, Paul. Right.
If we'd only waited one more day, we could have balloons and cake.
There it is. Look, Adam Curry gave me the birthday song.
Adam Curry celebrating Paul Schreiner's birthday. Well, let me ask you something, Adam. I mean, now you've got a sense for our vibe, and how we manage our own podcast. What would you say the odds are for us getting on Joe Rogan in the next 3 months?
I think it's high. It's got to be.
I would think. I mean,
got to be high.
Watching maybe right now. What do you think, Adam? Chance?
I can't even think of a good comeback line.
I know. Well, that's.
I thought we had teed that one up perfectly.
Let me tell you.
You're too nice. That's the problem, right? Because that was a.
I did not want to seem needy, but I waited for Joe Rogan for years.
Yeah.
And
I think we should wait for Joe Rogan to call us.
Now,
Chris.
here's the interesting. No, the producers did that. The producers were out there consistently tweeting everything. Get Curry on, blah blah blah. We've actually become somewhat of buds.
Right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, when I got home from that LA trip, Joe started texting me. I'm like, wow, Joe. I mean, we had a really good. I was hammered. I was high as all hell on that blunt, but we had a pretty good time, and we have interesting conversations back and forth. So you never know. I mean, I can certainly bring you along in my posse. You can sit in the green room if I'm ever invited back.
Hey, I would do that, Paul. You would do that too, right?
But I don't know. Joe has interesting people on. Both you guys qualify. So there's nothing wrong with that.
We're just too unknown. We just got to climb up the.
No, I disagree, because he has all kinds of unknown people on who are unknown to the masses, but are intelligentsia, from the science world. I wouldn't say that. I think if anything, the thing is, he may not want to talk too much about advertising and marketing, because I think that's one of the biggest things he'll have to deal with moving forward.
Right.
Because I mean, 8 minutes of ads before your podcast starts. Eventually, I think that now the YouTube stuff works pretty well.
Yeah, it does.
But that's not the majority of his income, is my understanding. Okay. And of course, he has to sanitize to make sure he doesn't get canceled on YouTube, which is a problem, which is lame, because who wants to do that? And the podcast, and it's pretty linear, you know, but it's, and he does a lot of reads, and well, we kind of know what the human behavior is going to be. Luckily, I don't think Joe considers that to be his job. He's a comedian. He wants to do stand-up. It doesn't, that's his passion, his love. Right. And I think the show enables him to do that. So I don't think he doesn't care that much. Also, he gets material from his show, and that's his life. It's a part of his life, who he is. But I don't know how deep he wants to go in the advertising conversation, because it's a tough one. And you know, when your business depends on it, he may not, but when your business depends on it, who knows where it's going to go? And advertisers may be perfectly happy. You know, who's to say? But I like, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I do, and I have one.
How do you guys know each other? Because I don't know the story between. Wait, stop, Chris. Just give me an executive summary, please, and then you can fit Paul into that.
Yep.
After, because I went back to Europe in the turn of the century.
Yep.
2000. I'm sorry, the turn of the millennium. Went back to Europe for a while, and of course lost track of most people. What was the path you took? And who did you take with you? And just give me a little update and take you to where you are now, because I don't know what you two guys are of each other, except your email geek buddy.
Right, email geeks buddies. Yeah, I mean, well, I think I probably made pretty clear I always wanted to be in email marketing. When you knew, no, I never. Email marketing is not something I thought I'd end up being one of the guys of. But so when I left Think New Ideas, it was after we got bought by Answer Think. And you were already transitioning out. And so I got wooed to, I lived in Connecticut, got wooed by a company in Connecticut that was a short commute, which seemed attractive. I took Malcolm with me. I took Alyssa Camlett with me. I took a bunch of the people with me out of Think New Ideas over a course of time. I think Allison Grippo came on board for a while. And they had this product called the Dynamic Marketing Environment, which sent all of IBM's email. And
wait, did you take our client IBM with you too?
No, this is a totally different, totally different
IBM.
Yeah, no, I didn't take any clients.
We had the AS400 mainframe division, right. I'll have you know, which still is around.
Yeah, no, this was and so this company. And I worked with them for 4 or 5 years and never really quite understood what they were doing, but I did a good job faking it for 4 or 5 years. And then I got asked to join a company, one of the very early, phone live. I got asked to join, help grow a company, startup in the email marketing space, which was the first I'd heard of the email marketing space, to be honest, because Think New Ideas, we'd been doing web development and advertising, and they wanted me to bring my agency experience, like you guys did, like Think New Ideas did. They said, we want to create an agency type culture around this email marketing. And so I joined that company. It was called Digital Impact, and suddenly realized that what I'd been doing at the previous company in Connecticut was email marketing. They just didn't know it. They didn't call it that. They didn't think of it as that. And so they never really, unfortunately, the company never, during the first phase of all these ESPs getting bought, they weren't bought because they didn't know what they were. And I didn't know what they were, but suddenly I'm at this company and it's the growth trajectory. I mean, it was like the early days of on-ramp and organic, where email companies were all the darling little ESPs, and they quickly got bought up by these big companies that no one's ever heard of. Axiom. Do I know Axiom?
Oh, yes. Yes. These motherfuckers, they're the ones that got the goods on you. That's where the money is.
Experian, Axiom, Epsilon, Info USA, all these big databases.
What's the one that Oracle bought? Did Oracle buy Axiom?
I know they bought Responsys, Blue Kai, Eloqua.
Yeah, they bought
one of the biggest they bought for like $4 billion or something. They bought something really big.
That was the second wave of email consolidation. Email's first wave was 2005. I love talking about this. 2005, where all these little tiny $50 to $100 million email shops got bought by these big database marketing companies.
Yeah.
So, companies nobody had ever heard of outside the industry, but the parents were, Axiom bought one, Epsilon bought one, Experian bought one, Info Group bought one. And that allowed, these new companies that were independent to come up underneath. And to get to your point, new ESPs that weren't tied to big companies, one was called Exact Target, another was Responsis. And the second wave of consolidation happened around 2011. And that's where Salesforce bought Exact Target for something like $4 billion.
Yeah.
And Oracle, not wanting to be a player, bought Responsis, the other big independent, for about $2 billion.
Yeah.
And IBM even got in the picture. They bought a company called Silverpop. So and so it's been a very interesting. So it's a very it's a really interesting growth industry. It's still and about 10 years ago, Axiom had been bought and rebought, and the CEO that I worked with and liked was no longer there. And so I left and joined a small analyst company that did shocking on the email industry.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked with both vendors and with marketers, and I'm trying not to be boring. My side of the business was really working in the vendor selection with email marketers. So companies like American Airlines or Sephora or Bed Bath & Beyond would hire us to help them sort
Bed Bath & Beyond, I find a highly functional email marketing campaign.
Yeah, well,
my personal experience.
We got them on the right platform. And so that's what I did.
You can thank Chris.
And then I split off from that company 5 years ago, because whenever you're working with vendors and you're working with marketers, and it's all about vendor selection, the vendors begin to think you should be pay to play. In other words, they said, why aren't we winning your RFPs that you're managing? We pay you a lot of money. And our answer was, because we run fair RFP processes, and it's not up to us to, let you win. You have to win.
Right.
You have to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so,
what a concept.
Yeah, I know, what a concept. So some of the big vendors started to leave, and so we had to split the company. My partner and I split the company. I took the vendor, the RFP side of the business. So now, it's as niche as you can get at them. It sounds so.
Yeah, you basically come up with the idea. You write the RFP for the provider, right? Yeah, and it's very specific, and your ass is on the line if it sucks.
Right, and I help them pick the right vendor, and
people love it.
But you also do the strategy and the metrics and what you're going for, or is that?
No, I do. It's more of a technical requirements than it is. It's more the ability to do very specific use cases around what they need to do, how dynamic content, and I could go on and on and on.
Dynamic content.
Yes,
sounds expensive.
It is. And there's like 350 little line item requirements that I come up with. Again, it's tedious but well worth it.
So your wife is rich? Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. My wife does very well. She's a lawyer, so yeah.
Yeah. I too married up. I married up as well, Chris.
I married. Yeah, I married up both financially and in her looks. I'm punching above my weight. So you met my wife in about 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Chicago. Yeah. This is number 2 for me, and so you met number 1. But
yes,
I think my Diaz days, but I don't expect you to necessarily remember. It was a hotel in Chicago. You were in Chicago for something. I was in Chicago, and I ran into you, and I think we came by your hotel room.
Wait, when was this? 5 years ago?
It was like 5 years ago. Was that some conference you were in?
Oh, no.
ERMC or IRC, Internet Retailer.
Sure,
or maybe you were just in town because you were in town.
Did you and I see each other?
Yep. Shows how memorable I am, Paul.
Yeah.
It's one of my treasures.
Are you sure about this?
I didn't know this awkward moment was going to come up.
Was this a conference on the pier, near the pier?
It could have been.
More than 5 years ago.
All right, but it could have been more than 10 years ago because she wasn't my wife more than 10 years ago.
Okay, well, don't be a douche about it.
Yeah, Chris.
It's one of our most treasured memories.
Get all huffy. Get all huffy, man. Jeez.
I'm disappointed. Obviously, it's seared in our memory.
Well, tell me about your wife. I'll probably remember her. Was she with you? So that's the problem.
That's how you met her. Yes, she was with me.
That's the problem. I was...
Obviously, we treasure the memory more than you, but that's okay.
Well, 5 years ago is when I met Tina, so I'm trying to think if it was just before that or Anyway, matters not.
She's what do your producers say? She's smoking hot.
Smoking.
Yeah. That's what the kids are saying now, Chris.
It's my smoking hot wife.
Or as we say, a crafty cougar. That's another.
Eye candy, arm piece.
Very nice.
She'd probably not appreciate any. Well, the smoking hot she'd appreciate. But so that's me. So I'm a consultant, and Paul and I'll let Paul describe his business so you can rip into it a little bit. But Paul and I started this. Paul and I, because we're in the same industry, there's a lot of email conferences. Shocking. Where we go and talk about email. And Paul and I, had met and started chatting, and our conversations actually got very deep. They weren't the sort of usual. I mean, we talked about religion. We talked about just the world at large, and we enjoyed these deep conversations. Yeah. So we had talks for years, and we also had a good sort of chemistry.
Right.
And
sure.
So we talked for years about the idea of, we should do a podcast. We should do something.
Sure.
And because again, we've got this good thing going. And it was really Paul's idea when the coronavirus hit. Paul, I love it because it was one of those things that were sort of, yeah, we're going to do it one day. Yeah, we're going to do it one day. Yeah, we're going to do it one day. And you never do it. But we actually did it. And I give Paul the credit because he said,
I'm a visionary.
Let's do it. Yeah. But you're not Adam Curry level visionary.
No, not Adam Curry level visionary.
But you're Paul Schreiner level.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like
so Paul said,
visionary.
Let's do it and see what happens. And he said, if we can get really mega stars, and I delivered.
He did.
Yeah. I mean, on point.
Yeah, we got Adam. I mean, and so that's how we started this. And this is episode 8, as Paul said. And our initial thought was to do 8 and see what happens. And I think we've got our vanity URL on YouTube.
Yeah, boom.
We've got, we're on the radar, I'm sure, of Joe Rogan, even if we're not on his show.
Oh, you're on the radar. Oh, yeah, you're on the radar for sure.
And so, I want to get Vince Vaughn on.
I do have a connection to Vince Vaughn.
If you okay, we can do that offline because he went to my high school. So I don't have his connection like I have with you. Yeah. But I'm going to play the.
It's not a solid connect, but it's 2 levels. I mean, I have to have the right pitch. It's like
right.
It's like Chris Marriott will probably work if I add Paul Schreiner. Boom, in the pocket.
Right. Exactly. Right. But you got to. Well, hold off the.
Your Paul money.
That's the deal closed.
What makes you so money is you don't even know that you're money.
So, Paul, why don't you tell us about what you do?
Sure. So I can probably go a little faster than you, Chris. I was actually
younger. You don't have the experience that I have.
That's true. I was living on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, a little town called Port Townsend.
Oh, that's where Dvorak has a house. I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, does he? He has a house in Port Townsend?
Yeah. So he and his wife, for a lot of reasons, but it's their relationship. She lives most of the time in Port Angeles, and he lives in the house in Berkeley. Yeah. And of course they travel all the time and all that. But yeah, it's beautiful area.
Yes. So we had moved over to Port Townsend to start Young Life. Young Life's a Christian outreach to high school students. It's a lot like missionary work to high school kids. And the Olympic Peninsula is very much a tourist destination. And so people come there because of the vibe, the energy, all the great stuff. But it's very, very difficult to raise a budget there. There's a lot of rural poverty. Your primary donors are people driving school bus and
they're all racists up there.
Maybe not as much that. Well, if you know the vibe, it's almost the opposite.
I'm making a joke.
Okay, no, that's fair. Because we live in Tennessee now, and whatever. So anyway, the raising a budget was really difficult. And so what I did is I was using email, writing stories about here's what we do. And
this was for the outreach organization, for the Christian outreach org. Yeah.
So I reached out to my now business partner and I said, hey, will you give money? And he said, can you send me an email? And I said, I did, because I knew him. And I said, yeah, I sent it. I sent it last night. He goes, no, you didn't. And I said, yes, I did. He scrolls. He's like, oh.
There it is.
There it is. You sent it at 2:00 in the morning. And I said, I didn't. I sent it at 11 p.m. And he goes, you can't send me an email at 2 a.m. I said, I sent it at 11. He's like, but I got it at 2. And I was like, time zones, bro.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. Do a better job. And so it stuck with me. And I kind of had this idea. I was like, well, what if we can predict when people open their email? So people are creatures of habit. And so let's keep track of when they've opened and clicked historically. And then we can kind of, so I wrote a little algorithm.
I like that.
Yeah, I wrote a little algorithm that put it together, and it predicted, okay, this is when Andy opens his email.
So you have it per individual? You custom? Oh, that's slick. That's slick.
So I called Andy and I said, I got this thing.
I'm stealing that idea. Let me write that.
Yeah, you should. You should. And he was like, Paul, this is a business. And I was like, no, it will help me raise money on the Olympic Peninsula. And he was like, you're so cute. And so, my chops are very much on the technical side, on the creative, making cool stuff. Andy's are on growing big. Out to Tennessee, where Tennessee is quite hot right now. It's a lot of tech, a lot of cool shit going on in Tennessee. There's a lot of great stuff going on.
Yep.
So enjoying it here. I would say as opposite as you can get from the peninsula, but great place to
like Tennessee. We have a lot of producers in Tennessee, and we'll come through soon. I mean, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. I'd love to hook up with you.
Yeah, I'd love that too.
My buddy Jeff, Nashville.
My buddy, what?
He's in Chattanooga though, not Nashville. So
it's like the same.
Most of our producers are around the Murfreesboro area.
Yeah, that's not far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me know when you're in town. Be fun to hook up.
Yeah. My buddy Jeff Smith is at the Dueling Pianos, the Crazy Pianos. Yeah. we have interesting people there.
So we grew it into a business. Our first customer was Sony. Out of Europe, Middle East, and Asia.
So you started small.
Yeah, and just it's been a roller coaster.
Did you have two managerial teams to answer to? The American one and then the Japanese one.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
I bet.
But yeah, Chris and I connected, and I think when coronavirus hit, it really did feel like we had a unique voice to share with our industry, because we've been in the game long enough that the idea of, well, yeah, this sucks, but it's not the end of the world, right? And if anything, I would say it's during these times where sort of the greatest pieces of innovation grow out, right? It's when your back is against the wall where you're like, shit, what do I do? And that's when the greatest things come out of nowhere.
Always.
And so I think that was part of the motivator, was how we have a unique voice to a unique group of people that, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, email marketing, because it's the highest ROI in digital marketing, it's the kind of thing that for organizations that are like, man, we're in trouble, double down, triple down, quadruple down on your email, because it literally costs nothing to send another email. And as long as there's people that want to receive them, they'll buy. You talked about that earlier, right? Like, send more, get more people listening.
So a couple of pieces of feedback, and I have some questions for you guys.
Right.
So we organically have figured out what the right time is to send, and I really don't know. Dvorak holds all that in his head, but we discuss it, and so of course I'm interested. And we have a real process. He writes an outline, sends a draft to me. I look at it also for typos. Tina, who's very good at proofreading, she gets a copy and it goes back and it circles around. And so we do have a little process, but he basically comes up with everything.
Sure.
But the time at which it's sent, which is staggered for sure with the time zones, we really have to hit all these people in the right time zone. So Australia is big for us, Canada is big for us, but the time zones there, all of that is, and I think we use MailChimp, so it's not like it's some overly sophisticated thing. Our biggest issue has been figuring out how not to get thrown into promotions or spam, because I don't have to tell you about the cartel of the email mafia that runs delivery into the big services.
We know them very well.
Yes, you pay to play. Fuck those guys. I hate them all. I think it's illegal what they're doing.
It's certainly
no, it's illegal. It's fucking illegal. It's illegal, in my mind.
Just for fun here, Adam, this is can you see my screen there?
Yes.
So I just we can't, for digital security reasons, I can't query anything, but I can match it. So I put in your email here, adam@curry.com. And the best time to email you is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Interesting.
I don't know if that resonates. Is that when you check email by chance?
I'll tell you why I think it's correct. I'm up very early typically, and I'm at a computer that would at that point possibly give you the feedback, because I'm not loading images by default. So I'm not sure exactly, that's how you're tracking, I presume Pixel or whatever.
Yeah, Pixels and then also clicks. And we just plug into the email service providers. So.
Right. But that is a time, so Mondays are typically my day off because we do a show on Sunday and I don't do much. And Tuesday I would be ramping up and I would probably be doing that type of email where I might click something on a Tuesday for sure. Is the one on the right, is that a Friday?
This one here? Yeah, Friday at 4 p.m.
Yeah, so you see Sundays and Thursdays I'm working. Interesting. Okay, so that's very interesting. I like that. I love that, actually. That's cool. Yeah. Huh. And you sent me, when did you?
Chris did.
No, I got an email from you.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I just
the invite.
He doesn't eat his own cooking, I guess.
Yeah, apparently not. No, I don't send time optimize every email.
Lame. I'd be doing. Okay, so I am a student of email, and email is my platform. And I don't, Chris, I don't know if you remember how anal I was at Think New Ideas about email and how we used it. Yep. In particular, subject lines. Yep. I think at every think drink, which included real alcohol, I think there would probably be hey, put a fucking subject in line that makes sense so we're not all screwing around. And I would create Outlook view templates so I could only see important. So I was already hacking into that. But these days, and I'm a low-level guy. I'm command line guy. I use Mutt for my email. So I'm running on Ubuntu as my install, but I'm a VI Mutt kind of guy. And I ingest huge amounts of information. Emails, clips, all this stuff. So and it all comes through email ultimately. If it doesn't, when I have an idea, I want to route it to where it'll be useful for me, typically for the show. So filters, all that stuff, but also firing external programs with a keyword so it does something for me. And I believe that email is the last and probably lasting bastion of a decentralized internet.
Yeah.
Everything else is and it's open. I have my own email server. It's on my own pipe. I can talk to everybody. Now, of course, Google is becoming a bigger asshole every day by, they start with the encrypt anywhere, and then you have to all this authentication stuff and the DKIMs and I love Google for their technology. I hate them for the business model. They're destroying the world.
Right.
So email is incredibly powerful. You could put a social media interface on email, not tell anybody, and say, here's an app. All you need is your email and your password, and you have a social network. And it would function, and people would be like, holy crap, this is great. And you would own it. You could block who you wanted. You already have spam filters. I mean, all this stuff is so clear to me. But email has become a piece of shit that most people hate and don't know how to manage, and Google and Yahoo and all the free mail services have done nobody any favors. So I believe in email. I believe in how it's used. I wish we could empower more people with better email and that they could use it in a more functional way. These are the things I do think about. And the reason I'm very interested in it now, and I'm curious on your thoughts, is email is being supplanted now in people's lives. I've made one stock investment at the beginning of this Rona crisis, and that was in Slack. And the reason why is because I've seen how this is integrated into corporate and also personal life, how effective and efficient it is. It's also evil, but that's a different story. Sure. And they are now literally advertising as it replaces email, and I think it is. how is that affecting your business? All of those things, really. The fact that email has become shit, that people are going to places like Slack for organized shit. Yeah. And what's the thinking on that? I mean, is it just the battle to get into the top of the inbox at the right time? Is that ultimately that's what you're doing consistently?
Well, I think you asked like a billion questions, which
I expect a billion answers.
Yeah, I got them all. No, I think that the landscape of email is changing, and to say that it's static would be false, right? It's always been changing since its origins. So the idea that there are new tools, right? When SMS came out, oh, that's the email killer, right? Or, there's a place for Slack. There's no question, right? Slack is very transactional. It's very conversational, right? So the idea that we remove some of the conversational aspects out of email and make it much more sort of formal communication, I don't see that being a problem. I also know that there is a lot of people in our world that have been trained to go to their promotions tab to say, I can save 30% on deck chairs. What's up, right? And as long as that exists,
hold on a second. That's really interesting. Do you have data that people are excited to go to their promotions tab for that reason?
No.
Or experience.
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, the data exists, but and I'm sure the brands have that, but there was a sea change when Gmail first came out with the promote.
Yeah.
And more recently now,
now they want to
get in it. They want exactly, and so there's something
that's interesting.
There's data driving that.
Right.
And the other thing I would say, and Paul touched on it. I mean, there's been so many email killers, Adam. That we're going to
of course.
kill email.
Again, I'm a believer because I live on it, and I'm a believer. Yeah.
And Slack, we love Slack. I mean, Email Geeks. Sure. I mean, Email Geeks on Slack is where Paul and I spend a lot of time on our day talking to other.
But you know what? I'm happy to hear this. I was a little concerned about it, but if you're telling me, you're giving me information here that is very interesting, and I can see anecdotally why people would like, oh shit, let's go to the promotions tab. There's shit in there that I can get, and there's deals.
Right. Commercial email, commercial email will never be, there's nothing that can replace commercial email. Maybe, Slack is replacing some inter-office email. That's great. Everybody, I mean, that makes everybody's life easier.
I think so too, yeah.
It's not a commercial tool for communication. It never will be. Mm-hmm. And I think, I just published something today in a newsletter called the store-to-door theory of marketing. And I won't bore you.
No, but you better sign me up to your newsletter. I can't believe I didn't already receive it.
It's the only influencers newsletter, but I'll send you a link. But
influencers
I don't have
only.
A personal newsletter. I don't have enough content. But the idea being that, that people have become, if you think about what we've done during the coronavirus, all of us have ordered things online to be delivered to our home that prior to the coronavirus, we would have gone to the store to get. I don't care who you are. You've done something. Yeah. You've ordered something, at least one thing that you would have gone to the hardware store to get. You would have gone to, another store to get. We've all learned how nice that is to have it delivered to your door, particularly if there are things like 40-pound bags of dog food or furnace filters that are big and clunky that you got to go to a big box store, and nobody likes doing that. I think one of the lasting impacts of the lockdown and coronavirus is that email is becoming potentially even more important, because I think more people are using it for commerce now. Either more people are using it for commerce, or more people are using it for more things than they did before. And I don't think the minute we can go back to a store, people are going to just automatically go back to stores. I think, barring a compelling reason to go to a store, I'm never going to throw a 40-pound bag of dog food in my car again. The heck with that. I'm going to order it on Amazon. And I mean, I don't think I'm any different. I think that's one of the most interesting dynamics coming out of this again is I think that people are spending more time on email. Well, let me take that back. Are more reliant on email. I think the challenge for you guys and your newsletters, and I think Paul's company helped solve this with the send time optimization, is I think the time people spend with email is in general a zero-sum game. Meaning, the more time I spend with your newsletter, the less time I spend with someone else's newsletter. We have a finite number of hours in our day. We have a finite number of hours we're going to spend with email. And as email becomes, as email becomes a bigger part of our commercial behavior, the challenge is going to be not to get cut out of that loop. And I think content providers, publishers and content providers are going to have bigger challenges because, again, do I read this newsletter, or do I see if I got a coupon from such and such a store for something that I need? And so I think, and that's where Paul's company comes in. If you're challenged, I don't want to make a pitch for Paul's company, but
go ahead, pitch away, Chris.
I think this is the heart of what they do.
Nolan Ryan of email.
I think the heart of what they do is, if you get it at your inbox when you're looking at it, you're that much more likely to see it and not have to scroll, do that scroll to find it, where 23 other things are going to hit your eye that you're going to open beforehand. And by the time you get down to that email, you've forgotten you were looking for it. So, I think that's, I'll be interested to see what happens. But that's my theory, at least, is that email is more important than ever. And the challenge will be.
It's changing, though. There's no question.
I'm going to agree that I think we're going to learn so many things as we start to emerge out of this. It's so much bigger, I think, than we realize.
Yeah.
And the change in attitudes towards many, many products, services, what provides value, what provides joy. Right. And I'll come back to the email, but in this Mike Rowe thing that I saw, that I told you about with Dave Rubin, he said during the Blitzkrieg in London, the Germans were bombing nonstop, and people went into the tubes and into their cellars, and they stayed in there, and the Germans were bombing 3 weeks, and the bombing didn't stop. But after 3 weeks, people started to come out and walk around. Bombing still continued, but they could not do it any longer, and the bombing continued, and people started to open their shops, and the bombing continued. So it doesn't sound logical, and you can't predict how people are going to behave, but for sure, this is not about money. This is about identity and who I am. And, oh my God, by the way, you're not an essential person. Fuck you. That's not a great message. It's a big, Mike Rose said, that's a big mistake. I don't like social distancing either. Right. Physical distancing. Okay. Social distancing. Mask. We'll be with masks, like taking your shoes off for the airport. And I've already been through the stages of grief. I've already been angry. I've already negotiated, and I've now settled for it. My negotiation, by the way, was I'll wear my mask to protect you.
Yep, mine too.
And I will also, to protect me and to make myself feel better, I'll wear my open carry firearm. Good deal. So that was my negotiation.
That's reasonable. I mean,
I think so. It's legal. It's reasonable. But anyway, so we're not exactly sure, but I have definitely had more email conversations with people that during this that I wouldn't have even had a conversation with at all. Yeah. I can see the challenge, though, because you're talking about getting the email at the top of the list at the right time when someone sits down to do their email, which I think is genius. I have dedicated, certainly during this Corona, I have learned to create an entire situation where everything is managed and I see exactly what I want to see and I get it right when I want it. And it's not that hard to do, but it takes some dedication to sit down and just do it. So I know that if I subscribe or if I'm getting something from you, I'm going to get it. Yeah. And you're kind of, everybody in any time of marketing communication, you're running up consistently against a public that is being dumbed down, right down to the interface with the computer. We've successfully really removed the keyboard, and people are touching stuff to make things happen. So it's really the inverse of Elon Musk's neural net. Instead of increasing the bandwidth between the computer and the brain, we're reducing it from 10 fingers to 1. So this is very complicated to do that. and you're battling with, of course, everyone else is doing this. That's quite a, that's, I think that find it fascinating. I really, and I get a lot of newsletters.
Yeah.
I think the nature of the industry is going to change. I mean, you kind of got to that too, that idea that coronavirus has gotten us down to the core. Chris got to the idea of sort of commerce. I think email will always exist both as sort of a permanent record. So I agree with that. Yeah. And I don't want a text message telling me my TV got delivered because I'll never find it again.
Right. I got the receipt right here. Yeah.
Right. Now, when you throw that in, you've also now got an opportunity to market, right? To promote other things. You bought a TV. How about this slick speaker system that goes along with it?
Oh, right? Wait, the right offer for the right product at the right time.
Right.
That's what I thought.
And so I,
still waiting for my fridge to order milk.
Yeah. So I think the other thing I think the email will forever be entrenched is sort of long form communication, right? Just a lot more where Slack is fantastic for bits, right? Short bursts. There you go.
Well, I think you nailed it with what you just said. Our newsletter is not there to get more people to read the newsletter.
Right.
Our newsletter is not there to get more people to listen to the show. Our newsletter is there for the tribe. It's for them. And that, and well, we already went through what it does, but so we have an actual dialogue. It's not really a dialogue, but it's close to one. It's getting pretty close. And if someone replies to our newsletter, it does go to both of us.
Good.
So there's that. But I find it fascinating and incredibly undervalued what email is capable of. Really is.
Well, thank you. And, anytime you want to prop up what we do, we'll take it all day long, Adam.
Yeah, we will.
I didn't say you guys were great. I just said the whole idea.
By association, we're just assuming that's what you meant to say.
Yes, I did.
We know we're ham and eggers, and we're proud. We wear that badge proudly. But I know we're getting to the end because you said 11:15, and so we've had somebody actually waiting very, very patiently, Adam.
Spectacularly.
No.
Yes.
A surprise guest?
Background story. No.
Wait, a surprise guest?
I don't want to. It's no one you know.
It's your mom. No, it's not.
No one you know. That would have been a great idea. But when Paul and I mentioned, because of course we were like as giddy as little schoolgirls when you agreed to be on the show, and when we talked about it, one of our friends is Dutch in Holland, lives in the Netherlands, and his head nearly exploded. He was like, I gotta be on your podcast. I gotta join. And this guy's actually one of the top
and he's great
guys in Europe. And
he's one of the top what?
Email guys in Europe. I mean,
he's in Amsterdam, or where is he in Holland?
Yeah, he's in Amsterdam. I think. Well, he can. So anyway, we told him we end every episode, which I'm sure you know because you've watched every episode.
Every episode, yes,
is what we call the lightning round, where we ask our guests to, first thing that comes into his head or her head based on a word that we say. We give 5 words, one at a time, and we typically use it to sort of pry into their psychology. We will pounce on one answer and criticize it and or whatnot.
But please do. I feel you haven't criticized me at all, actually.
Right. So, well, we'll be very careful. So
that happens in the green room.
So Jordie has been in the green room waiting, Jordie van Rijn, and he's going to come on and he's going to manage the lightning round for us. So producer David, can you plug Jordie in now?
Oh, this is exciting. This is completely unexpected.
And we've never tried this before. We've never added a guest at any point.
The crowd goes wild.
So
I did my part.
There we go. There he is. There he is.
Oh, what a crowd. What a crowd.
All right, Jordie, why don't you introduce yourself, give you some background, where you are in the Netherlands, and then we can jump into the lightning round.
Yes. Okay, where am I in the Netherlands?
Hey, Jordie.
I'm in Houten, very close to Utrecht.
I know Houten. Ik ken Houten heel erg goed.
Ja. Oh, we're switching to Dutch.
Ja, waarom niet? Als we gewoon Nederlands praten, kunnen we hun voorbij.
Juist, ja.
We don't have the budget.
Een van de woorden straks moet zijn tuinkabouter. Don't tell Paul.
Wat zeg je over de tuinkabouter?
Een van de woorden straks, die zou moeten zijn tuinkabouter.
Oh, oké. Ik begrijp.
So don't tell Paul.
Okay, got it.
We don't have budget to put subtitles into what you're saying.
We should mention I speak Dutch fluently. That's
Yes.
little
Shocker.
little
That's the
extra
most
addition.
shocking revelation yet on this program.
Little known fact about Houten, it was the biking city of the Netherlands. And while Netherlands is, the biking country of the world, actually.
Is that true? Why is that? I didn't know this. Why is Houten the biking city?
Because we have an amazing infrastructure. So yes, as opposed to, I guess, everywhere in the US, here you can bike. And you can actually be somewhere faster by bike than you would by car.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed. Well, I of course grew up riding a bike and to school and everywhere, and later a brommer, a moped. Of course, everyone had those when you turned 16. So yes, I enjoyed the bicycle life very much.
Very good.
Jordie,
In a flat country.
I thought you said Viking culture, Jordie.
We also have a Viking culture.
All right. Well, this is a very touching reunion, warming my heart. But
yes,
we need to get to the lightning round, Jordie.
Yes, we need to get there fast.
Your name on the other line, Jordie. Let's move it.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
one word at a time. Remember.
Okay.
Oh
Adam
yes.
will give a one-word answer, and then we'll dissect it.
Yes. So did you? So do I need to explain what the lightning round is about? Or
No. I respond to the word you give me, right?
Okay. Yes. Here
Right.
it goes. So the lightning round. So actually, my introduction was about the city I live in, not about me. But so the lightning round. The first word is pirate.
Veronica Radio, which was the inspiration when there were a pirate ship on the North Sea. This is the 70s. Radio Caroline, Radio North Sea International, Radio Amigo, Mi Amigo, all ships on the North Sea, pirate broadcasting into the continent and the UK, of course. I was never on the ship.
No?
I'd been on the ship since, but I'd never on the ship back in the day. I was a little too young, and I just moved to the Netherlands in '72. So I barely spoke any Dutch or anything, but I found them on the radio at the time when the government-run radio station, Hilversum 3 at the time, was playing fucking polka music. That was their popular station. So they were playing like Led Zeppelin and all this stuff, and like, holy crap, what is going on? Lex Harding, who was a big name on the ship, he later hired me at my first television job in the Netherlands, as they had brought the pirate station into legality and we're officially on the air. So pirate, that's what that stands for.
Pirate, yes.
All right,
yes.
that's a mouthful.
That's a good one. It just lights up the brain, right? The lightning round. So your second word is bow, as in business as usual. I know I'm cheating, but
Dirty, yes.
Business. So, that's interesting, because the first thing that comes to my mind is Bohica. You said bow, I say Bohica.
Bohican? What does that mean?
Bohica. Bohica. Bend over, here it comes again.
There we go. Now we're in that's
applause. Yes, very good.
There we go. Beautiful.
Yes.
Business as usual.
Yep.
Bohica.
Yes, that's what she said. I mean, so
this is a family program. We lost that hours ago.
We'll go on.
It's a British thing, really. It's like, I take that up in London.
The next word, pop stars.
Wow, interesting. Pop stars. For me, two names pop up: Duran Duran and Boy George. I'm not quite sure why. Both have had extremely funny and crazy interactions with. But I think pop stars, because Boy George, who was the ultimate pop star, the first time I met him, he was a heroin addict, and he came on my TV show, and he was going to perform. He could barely walk. This was a very bad period for him. And I was very young, 19, 20, just starting. I was national TV. It was unbelievable what was happening in my career. And the record company's like, just whatever, you just don't talk to him, just bring him up on stage and introduce him. And so, of course, he comes up on a stage. So are you still on heroin? That was my first question. Now, that was not he performed, and the record company was very angry.
Yeah.
Later, I met him again as George O'Dowd when I was doing a remote for WHTZ Z100 in New York at I think it was a New Jersey hardware store. There was a beauty competition, and I was a judge, and so was George O'Dowd. And I made amends he didn't remember it, but and you know what, delightful guy. We had a really good time. Very, very sweet guy, funny. Just a sweet old queen at this point. You know, it's a great guy. Duran Duran, because they were the superstars when I was starting in the 80s. And for some reason, I did a lot of stuff, gigs, introducing concerts at the time, you know, the MTV guy. And in order to get my radio show on the stations, to clear it on the station, I have to go and do their B Summer Jam or whatever the hell it was, and with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and you name it, I've been with all of them. That guy turned out pretty good. And so 3 times I was there to introduce Duran Duran at big concerts, and all 3 times the band canceled because Simon's voice went out, or one time he was too high. That was in Ahoy in Rotterdam. He had to leave the stage. The band kept playing, but he had smoked too much weed or whatever. And then the 3rd time, I meet the band. It might have been Nashville or something. It was a big open stadium, and LeBon comes up to me and he says, "Fuck, Curry, this gig is canceled." I mean, that's literally how.
Really?
And so when I think pop stars, I think that was kind of the poppies, even though they were great artists in their own right. I mean, Boy George was very seminal in pop music with Culture Club, and Duran Duran. I don't even have to say that, and they're still around. And then just to finalize that, make it funnier, I was at Sony Records waiting in the lobby years ago. I was trying to convince them they should do something on the internet. And the way the Sony and the AT&T building, the lobby worked, is for all the record guys, you'd have this big waiting room, and then there's secondary elevators that go up to the record company offices. And we're sitting there, me and Bloom actually, and there's like rap guys running around making videos. You know, it's a madhouse. Simon Le Bon, who also has to wait at this point in the lobby. And then I swear to God, the girl at the desk is like, "All right, 3 big bad daddy hip hoppers, you're up next." And so, these guys go up, and then Mr. Simon Le Bon. I'm like, how embarrassing is that? Mr. Simon Le Bon. Pop stars. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Very good.
It's amazing. Amazing story as well. So for the next word, this is one word. These are not 2 words. It's 1 word. Ballroom.
Dancing. Tina and I always wanted to do it. And as a gift, she gave me and us dance lessons. And I finally have a woman who will dance with me. I finally, and with this woman will let me lead.
What?
Because dancing is a very traditional, traditional power structure. There's a huge amount of trust that is involved, and it's one of my favorite things to do. We did not continue with the lessons on Zoom video. You know, I like the whole interaction with the dance teacher dancing with me, and then I can do it with her, and so not necessarily all ballroom,
all the
but
classics. Are you like
classics? Oh yeah, the classic, the waltz, the tango, the cha-cha, the rumba. Yeah. Oh yeah, love the jive, of course. Swing, West Coast swing, East Coast swing. Sure. I'm going for competitions, baby.
Perfect. Dancing with the Stars. There we are.
I would have given you a different answer years ago. I'm sure ballroom might have meant something else to me. In fact, as I think about it, Chris, I think I was speaking at a conference and I was at the pier in Chicago when I met you, and we met either in that tent or outside or near the hotel. I kind of remembered. I feel bad that I don't, but I think I was just stressed about the damn conference, and it was shitty thing. I didn't know what was going on, and
probably a lot of pressure to be on our show.
Appearance on this podcast too, so I get it. I mean, this is a very popular podcast.
I'm just saying. I just want you to know that
I'm okay. I'm okay.
These guys, they asked me like, if you want to be on the podcast, who should we ask? And I'm like, if it's going to be my first podcast ever, I want Adam Curry to be there.
Yeah.
Or it might be
That's
exactly
so nice.
the reverse of that, but
You never know, right? Thank you, Jordie. That's very nice.
All right, number 5.
So shall we go for the tank about there? Shall we go for the tank about there?
Sure, go for it.
So that's it's a Dutch word. It's one word in Dutch, and translation is garden gnome.
Okay, this will mean nothing to the other guys.
All right.
Jeroen van Inkel.
Oh.
That's just how we spoke to each other. I was the long slang. This is my first radio partner who I made a very famous radio show with in Holland called Curry and Van Inkel. In fact, yesterday it was just awarded the most legendary radio show in the past 60 years.
Wow.
It only lasted 3 years, I think. But we're like Abbott and Costello, and he is. We used to laugh. I was the long, uncoordinated, gawky one, and he was the garden gnome. So
It was on radio.
But Tuinkabouter is very specific because Rien Poortvliet is a Dutch guy, Dutch artist who created the gnome, the garden gnome, the Book of Gnomes. It's famous the world over. You should take a look at it because that is a true Dutch artistic endeavor that is very, very
I'm sure
interesting to look at.
Sort of in post, put some pictures here.
Oh, we'll fix it all in post. Yes, of course.
Rien Poortvliet pictures of the little gnome with the big mushrooms. Right?
Yes, with the big mushrooms. Yes.
Right on that.
Yeah, nice. I like that word. It's a good one for the lightning round. Very nice.
All right, good. I don't know, Paul. I don't know if there's anything that we can use to psychoanalyze Adam. I thought his answers were actually pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Oh no. There's no critique, no nothing. Jeez.
No, I mean.
Oh, Jordie has something to say. I think.
I was before I came on. I was in the waiting room.
Yes. Thank you so much. By the way, what a man! What a horrible guest I am for you to wait in line for that. I didn't know.
But I read up on relativism. So I was reading in Wikipedia like for 2 hours, and I like today's superpower, isn't it?
Relativism. Wow. Yes, I think in many regards. What I usually like to do is give people the definition. Relativism, the doctrine that knowledge, truth, and morality exist in relation to culture, society, or historical context and are not absolute.
Wait a minute. Where did you have that up your sleeve, or where did that come from?
I agree, man.
I know this by heart. I'm words matter, man.
Yes, it's true.
And if you believe that, I think, I don't know if it fits exactly, but it's very difficult for people to put scale into perspective if we're talking about relativism. And so with that, I mean, how many people die of X, Y, or Z? And 70,000, no, I think 100, it's probably much more than that. It's probably over 100,000 people a year die in automobile accidents every year. We don't obviously tell people not to drive. We buckle up. And the more safety features our car has, the more risk we take without even thinking about it. But bringing that into scope and what that means, I think a lot of people learned during this time how many people actually died from just the flu or flu-related illnesses, because no one actually dies from the flu. Right. So I am going to agree with you, and I hope that people get a perspective on their world and look at it a little bit deeper as to what really is all this, and who are these groups, and what does this mean, and the numbers. I think people just don't understand numbers, and maybe they've gotten a better view of it. So
I think it's also like maybe you have like a snow globe and you shake it very hard, like things are changing, and then all of a sudden you have to look at it like the snow is coming down.
I like
It's
that
beautiful.
analogy. Yeah, and maybe after you shake it and you look through it, it looks different, right? You see the little
will.
sparkle on the building in the back. Oh, I like that. These Dutch guys, man, deep shit. Deep.
All right.
That is a
Who's
fantastic
saying deep shit?
close. We are going to wrap it up. Great close, Jordie. Thank you for coming on. Adam, absolutely fantastic. Loved having you.
Oh, it was a great joy. Great to meet you. Great to catch up with Chris. Jordie, I'm sure when there's a meetup in Amsterdam somewhere, I'm sure we'll see you hanging out.
Adam, you've been very gracious. You've given us a huge amount of time we never expected. So thank you.
Oh, there's the first offer. I want
Next
that
call.
curry on the Tonight Show. Get it
We have a
now.
caller.
Sell.
It's actually Jeroen van Inkel calling in. Like,
Yeah, what the fuck, man? No, you and I are very close still. We are still very good friends. I talked to him yesterday when we got the award. So we
nice,
talk.
nice,
We
nice.
talk. Yeah, we talk a lot for sure.
So Adam, I'll be in touch with you regarding Vince Vaughn, your connection with Vince Vaughn.
Now I have to deliver on that.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on
everything.
that.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, how do we top Adam Curry? Well, we can't top him, but we can get close.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tag him when you put this episode out, and I'll say, Vince Vaughn, you're next, obviously. Then
Right.
I'll work.
What about Vince
I'll
Vaughn?
work the back channel. I'll work the
Okay.
back channel to see if we can make that happen. Sure, why not? He's another guy that I think would be fucking great to hang out with.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. If you got business to do, man, it's like people treat you. It's like, what are you doing this podcast, man? Get on our email. Where's our numbers? Where's our
We're
metrics?
still doing our podcast.
You want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
1 second before.
live programming?
1 second
Live program.
before you let me in here, I
No.
got an email
Yes.
that with the subject line Discover Weekly 2 ready to start a podcast.
That's
Oh,
right.
you got to watch this whole thing.
I have proof. There's a timestamp and everything.
There is.
We can put it here in post. We can put it here in post.
All right, we're gonna walk this out. Adam, again, you've been a great guest. Jordie,
Thank you.
rare treat having you on at the end.
Yes.
Paul, you were as usual very very pointed questions. And Adam, we expect you to market the crap out of this podcast because we're counting on you to get us 400 views. So
Yeah.
400.
I'm good for the 400 views for sure.
All right.
I'll try and do more for you. We'll
It's
get
called
Vince Vaughn. I got to
F5.
add a list here. Vince Vaughn. Here's what I've learned. Don't be worried about Slack. Send time optimization.
There you go.
Baby, I love STO, man. It's not SEO. It's out, bitch. STO. That's where that shit is.
there we go.
Corporations want to be in the promotions tab. Man, thank you. I've learned a lot. A bit grayer than I remember, but you don't
doesn't age.
color your hair like I do.
Yeah, he doesn't age.
Well,
But you look good, my friend. That was my point.
Look
You
you
look
at.
good. You
thanks.
look
You
good.
never age.
You guys were talking about email.
All right.
No, we're talking
Well,
about love.
Producer David, walk us out, buddy. And thanks, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for,
you.
Adios, mofo.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Wow. I'm literally exhausted. What a great
Me too.
interview with Adam Curry. What a great guy to share as much time with us as he did. Did
Yep.
not expect that. That's for sure.
No, we didn't. Neither of us expected it. And I like what I particularly thought was great about the interview was he turned it around. And
Yeah.
by the end of it, he was asking us things about what we were doing and about email. There's something for everybody in that. If you're fast forwarded to the end because you want to see the three of us, and very nice touch, producer David on the background.
Yes, very nice.
Those who watched 2 weeks ago will know what we're referring to what we refer. But there's Adam's career and how fascinating that is. You got a big chunk
Yeah.
of that. There's Paul and my career that we don't really talk about, but Adam was asking us about it. And then there's a whole bunch about email marketing. There's sort of three big.
Well, and I think that is it's both what good people do, Chris, is they turn around it, but it's also the heart of what we tried to sort of create
Yeah.
in this podcast. This is just conversations, right? We're just going to talk and kind of go wherever it goes, and there's something very organic in that, and he fits that sort of ethos perfectly.
Yeah, he does. He was a great guest, and we were privileged to have him. And So this is the 8th episode of season 1. But I think we've all agreed, and producer David as well, Paul and I, that there will be a season 2. We appreciate everybody. That's the plan, and we're beginning to line up guests right now.
Right, and I think we're still figuring out what that's going to be. Is it the same thing as season 1? Is it going to? It will obviously mutate as I think things reopen. We'll probably be able to dial up the production value a little bit without sort of sacrificing the integrity of the intent of what we're trying to do. But yeah, there is a season 2. We're pretty stoked about that.
Yes, we are.
While we work effortlessly to get season 2 off the ground, we're going to put together a bonus episode.
Yes, we are.
And we're still kind of figuring that out. It's going to be I think kind of a game show format between us and Really Good Email, their podcast. And then I think we'll have Elizabeth Jacoby hosting. So
a lot riding on producer David's shoulders to pull that episode together. And
yeah. So anyway,
but it looks like he's my guess is it looks like he's found a way to at least contact the cool kids of email marketing, which will do him good stead in pulling together our bonus episode. So,
well, people hear a lot from us throughout the whole thing. David, do you want to close us out with any words, thoughts, ideas? Because you were pretty instrumental in helping put this thing together too.
Yeah, you were.
Thank you. It's been a ton of fun. I know all 3 of us are really appreciative to all 7 of our guests. 8 great shows. It's been a ton of fun. It's been a great experience, and I am looking forward to season 2, season 3, season 4, season 100.
There you go.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you soon.
Yep.